SABC News. The African Perspective.
Good morning, everybody. Hey, it's that time once again for On the Move. On the Movers is where we actually are a family where we try to become a little bit better, taking each day at a time, but really gradually caring about becoming better Africans. That's what the show is all about. Thank you for joining myself, Benjamin Moshatama. And hey, I've got a very, very fluey Palesa. But we still love her the same. You know, I've come into the studio with my flu as well. So today is my time to just distance myself the same way that she distances herself when I have the flu. She's always like, Ben, don't come close to me.
I think we can positively say it's not any of us that gave each other the flu. We
Yeah.
got it elsewhere.
Thank goodness, because imagine if both of us have the flu and we are on air. What a disaster. Well, we've got so much that's coming up on the show, and so many cool conversations about affirming who we are as an African continent and as Africans. Hey, we're going to start with a wonderful story here, looking at these two wonderful women from Kenya, and they've launched what is called the NW Plus TV, which is a vibrant platform that aims to redefine the storytelling narrative of the African continent. And this is fantastic. Kiragu and Mutoni Waigwa, two visionary Kenyan entrepreneurs, have joined forces to launch this TV, and they want to actually create a space whereby the continent's vibrant cultures, untapped talents, and unheard voices become part of the entertainment experience. So we'll be speaking to one of the co-founders, Mutoni Waigwa, just in a few minutes' time. That should be a very fun, inspirational conversation. And today we have our Money Matters feature. Hey, Pali, how's your bank balance doing?
Oh no, Benji. I wouldn't be here with the flu if it was doing great.
I know. I experience this now, especially that I have a son. There's always me trying to find ways to purchase my wine collection. There's no longer wine collection in the house because I've drunk all the
What about
wines.
new art?
There's no new art anymore. There's nothing like that. And I'm always looking through my bank balance to find ways to actually do the hobbies that I really love to do. But hey, it's tough these days because life is tough. So today on our Money Matters features, we're going to speak about this micro issue because it feels like, we've spoken about it so many times, but we've never spoken about how to do it. We always say, check your bank balance, but we never really look at how do you actually check your bank balance? What do you look out for? So we'll be speaking about checking your bank balance and making it easier for yourself. There's so many tools today that you can actually do that with. So we'll be joined by Stian de Wit, who is an executive head of financial planning at financial advisory firm NMG Benefits. And also, we've got our In the Cubicle feature in our final hour when we look at office issues. You know, working is something that we all do, but we don't know how to navigate the workplace, because no one really schools us on this is what's going to happen outside your job. Actually, you're going to have relationships with people. You have to navigate the conversations in the office. And today we're going to be speaking about office politics and gossips. They are the ultimate productivity killers, right? And sometimes you just have to stay away from them. Not sometimes, I think always stay away from office politics. Stay away from office gossip. But how do you do that? Because sometimes the stuff just comes to you. Has anyone told you that, hey, Palesa, come here. Did you know Ben last night?
Personally, no. I'm glad I stay far away from office gossip and office politics. I'm here to do what I need to do. But I've heard of instances where things have turned quite bad from the office grapevine. Yeah,
absolutely. So that's what's coming up on the show. Remember, you can join us on DSTV channel 802, OpenView 628, and interact with us on our live stream. Hey, we love having you on our live stream. Come in and out and let us know where you are listening to us from on the African continent, wherever you are. It actually brings a smile on our faces whenever we hear from you and whenever we know where you're listening to us from. So come into our live stream and let us know and interact with us on our social media platforms. Our Facebook page is Channel Africa, where the stream comes out, and also we've got that YouTube page as well. And don't forget that we also have that WhatsApp number +2763 406 9126 +2763 406 9126.
The rhythm of Africa, the pulse of the continent. This is Channel Africa, the African perspective. Africa in Business on Channel Africa.
The president of the Arab Bank for Economic Development in Africa, Badea, Dr. Sidi Ould Tah, he is vying for the presidency of the African Development Bank, the AFDB. He positions himself as a fervent defender of economic integration and structural transformation on the African continent.
So I do believe that I have a 360 view of the development challenges in the continent, with my experience from both the supply side and the demand side. But more importantly, my vision is to bring on board all the stakeholders and to have a holistic approach for the development of the continent, and to develop partnership across the continent and outside the continent, bringing all the stakeholders together to work for one goal, is to make Africa great for life and livelihood of the African population.
Bringing the African markets into your home. Channel Africa, the African perspective.
África. Conhece o Ntivani?
Claro que sou eu.
Ntivani é o amante da música de corpo e alma.
Eu amo música africana.
Ele aprecia todos os tipos de melodias e passa os seus dias a ouvir a Channel Africa. Okay. Adivinha só, a Channel Africa quer ajudar o Ntivani e os amantes da música em todo o lado a descobrir ainda mais música incrível. Por isso, a Channel Africa está a convocar artistas africanos a submeterem as suas músicas. Músicos, lembrem-se de nos dar todas as informações relevantes no music@channelafrica.co.za. As submissões são a vossa oportunidade de ser ouvidos, mas não garantem inclusão na lista. Todas as submissões serão cuidadosamente analisadas para verificar se cumprem os requisitos da nossa estação. Canal África, a perspectiva africana.
Es-tu préoccupé par quelque chose? Es-tu passionné par les questions qui comptent? As-tu une voix qui mérite d'être entendue? Eh bien, nous avons la plateforme parfaite pour toi. Téléphone-nous ou fais-nous un WhatsApp au +27 66 408 87 42 et nous te rappellerons. Sois dans la conversation.
Salut Channel Africa, ici Beno le diamant rouge aka Binal Export depuis le Cameroun, le pays des lions. Voilà.
Sois dans la conversation. Il ne s'agit pas seulement de parler, mais c'est ta chance d'exprimer ton point de vue, de partager tes opinions et de t'engager avec une communauté qui valorise ton avis. Suivez-nous sur les réseaux sociaux, visitez notre site www.channelafrica.co.za et préparez-vous à partager vos points de vue sur Channel Africa, la perspective africaine.
Start your day right with Channel Africa Breakfast.
That smells delicious.
Live, 5 days a week. Get set and be ready to go. On the move with Palesa and Benjamin Moshatama.
Hey, we are not having this impression usually because there's so many platforms that there's enough storytelling that actually reflects the truth about the African continent, and our stories are told enough. But if you really investigate the matter, most of the platforms really don't have a lot of the African content that we want to see. At times, the narratives are really shaped for a Western audience. Now, in the heart of Africa, a revolution in storytelling is unfolding. Nyatetu Kiragu and Mutoni Waigwa, two visionary Kenyan entrepreneurs, have joined forces to launch what is called NW Plus TV, what is a vibrant platform that is aimed to redefining the narrative of the continent. Well, the ladies have a passion for authentic storytelling and a commitment to showcasing Africa's untold stories and breaking the stereotypes and igniting a new wave of African creativity. To tell us a little bit more about this, we have the co-founder Mutoni Waigwa, who's joining us on the line. Mutoni, thank you for joining us here on Channel Africa. We're in Nairobi. Are you in Nairobi in Kenya?
Oh, it's such a wonderful time to be here. Yes, all the way in Nairobi. Thank you so much for having me.
Fantastic. Thank you for joining us here in Johannesburg. I mean, this is a big feat. This is a big achievement, but also a big challenge because the space of television needs, you to be resourceful, to be well-resourced. Where did this concept come from?
That's a very good question. But for us, the concept came from being already producers in our industry, creating content for broadcasters, international organizations. But then as time goes by, you have conversations with other producers who have lots of content, but they can't get their content onto Showmax or Netflix or other streaming platforms. So we thought to ourselves, there's such a plethora of content out there, but it's not being seen by people. So what can we do to ensure that the world can see this content? So we sat with my co-founder, who's actually my sister, and we said, let's build this video on demand platform to truly elevate local voices and also be the hub of African content, because we know that majority of these platforms or broadcasters, the content that they are onboarding is skewed to a Western audience. And in fact, we need to have platforms that really elevate these voices, amplify the African stories, and essentially let the world know that indeed we are choosing to control our narrative, because for far too long, our stories have been misunderstood or, diluted to make others feel comfortable around us. When in fact, our stories are so rich with culture and they should be embraced as that, rich with culture, rich with heritage. Just take us as we are. No need to dilute us.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. I love the fact that you highlighted that fact that, at times we think just because we have all these streaming platforms that all our stories are being told on those particular platforms. But it's not the case, is it?
It's not the case because before we kicked off and we launched into the market, we told ourselves, okay, let's do research and find out what's being done in the market. Because at times, as entrepreneurs, we assume that we're creating something new and we are the only ones that are different. But essentially what we realized is, yes, there are African stories on streaming platforms, but those storylines are so generic that you don't necessarily see yourself in that story. Yes, we see the African actor. Yes, we see the African landscape. But the storyline, does that really speak to who I am as an African in Zambia, as an African in Botswana, in Kenya, in Uganda? Not necessarily. So we are hoping with our platform that we are curating stories where yourself as Benjamin, you can see yourself in that story. Or you can see a story where you're like, you know what? I didn't know that about Burkina Faso, or I didn't know that about Tunisia. But in fact, now that you've seen that story, you have embraced another perspective of your fellow African. Because at times, the stories that we see on these video platforms, really divide us and make us feel like we are different, when in fact we're not different. We are Africans just sitting in different locations on this continent.
Yeah, that's so powerful, doing that. But also I want to come back to the fact that it's two women actually doing this. We know that the entertainment industry can be so male dominated. It's actually tiring, and maybe that's why sometimes you have these one-dimensional narratives that are always being told about the African continent. We'll talk a little bit about that, because the continent's industry also remains very male dominated, and I think that's an aspect that we need the likes of yourself to actually be interrupters in the space. So let's go to a break and then we'll come back after that. We're speaking to Motoni Waigwa, who is joining us, one of the co-founders of NW Plus TV, which aims to redefine the narrative of the African continent. Well, it's 20 minutes past 9 o'clock Central African time. Do stay with us.
We are on Open Views Audio Bouquet, Channel 628.
Você é fluente em português? É apaixonado por rádio e quer trabalhar na África do Sul? Você tem documentos que o qualificam para trabalhar na África do Sul? Nesse caso, podemos ter uma oportunidade para você trabalhar no Canal África. Envie seu currículo e demonstração para Canal África at newsroom@channelafrica.co.za. Lembre-se, se você não receber alguma resposta nossa em 14 dias, isso significa que você não foi selecionado. Canal África, a perspectiva africana.
No time to waste. Be on the move with Benjamin Moshatama and Palesa.
You know, we absorb entertainment in a very different way than we used to a couple of years ago, with streaming platforms at the forefront, people choosing exactly what they want to watch. Are they choosing content that reflects them? Are we, as African people, choosing the content that reflects who we are, not just in our separate spaces, but all together, learning each other's differences and what makes us alike, but also what makes us who we are? Well, the revolution is unfolding with Nyatetu Kiragu and Motoni Waigwa, two visionary Kenyan entrepreneurs who've launched NW Plus TV. We have co-founder Motoni Waigwa joining us on the line to continue chatting to us about this. So let's speak about the content itself. There's so much to watch these days. In fact, not so long ago, Motoni, we were speaking about all our streaming subscriptions that we all have. We have the Netflix and this and that and the other. But it seems like even in that vast space with thousands and thousands of content you can choose from, we still need something authentic that we're missing.
Right? We're still missing that authenticity. And it's interesting how, as storytellers, we get, what's the word that I'm looking for? Boxed in, because from a producer's perspective, if Netflix is going to come to me and say, I want this storyline, unfortunately, you have to meet what they're looking for, because they have to meet their KPIs at the end of the day. But with NW Plus TV, what we are building towards is a producer can come to us with whatever storyline that they have, and we won't dilute them. Because essentially that's how we get to hear the heartbeat of Africa, by truly letting producers, creators create these stories that truly reveal who we are as Africans. And you really raised a good point that there's so much to choose from. Yet here's the thing. I know as a fact that when people log into these different platforms, one thing that they do recognize is the ratio of Western stories to African stories, it's skewed to more Western stories. So for NW Plus TV, one thing that they are guaranteed is that the only content that you're going to see on that platform is from Africa. So if you want to watch a film from Kenya, it'll be a Kenyan filmmaker story. If you want to see a documentary done by someone in Togo, you will see that. And also, if you want to see a podcaster who is using their platform to inspire people, that will be also on the platform. I think it's high time that we start owning our stories and not shying away from them. I know sometimes we have been brainwashed to believe that our stories are lesser than, but in fact, our stories aren't. Our stories are just ours, and we just need to own them and truly amplify them to the world.
That is so important because, I think there's been so many stereotypes about our continent. And when we see streaming platforms that say Africa, or if we see African stories, we think about, all the stereotypes that have been portrayed long over in many mediums when it comes to the African continent. But we're here, we're modern, we're movers and shakers. And in fact, the world is looking at us in a very different eye. They're looking for us as really a base of creativity. And that's what the world is looking for today. So how does someone be a part of NW Plus TV? And how do you make sure that your stories are shared in an authentic way?
Thank you for that question. So currently you can go to the website nwplus.tv and start the free trial, and the free trial runs for 72 hours. That just gives you enough time to experience the platform, what we've put on there, and currently we have over 40 titles on the platform. So you can plug in that way and become a consistent subscriber. But I think also what I want to tell whoever is listening about NW Plus TV, this is a movement that is just not starting when we launched, but it's continuing, where we want to see more content being shared on our platform by producers out there, but also the audience consuming, experiencing, and truly becoming part of this community of Africans who are enjoying the content, who are learning from it. And also, one of the things that we realized as we were building this platform is, unfortunately, if you leave, let's say, one of these streaming platforms open, you'll be scared that your child is going to see content that they're not meant to watch. So our platform is safe because we want the entire family to watch the content together. I don't know if you had this experience, and I don't want to reveal my age, but as a young girl, we only had one TV station.
Yeah.
And then it would start at 4 p.m. and we would be all excited, from the parents to the children. It's time to watch TV.
Yeah.
And essentially that in those emotions and that memory is what we want to bring back, that when you log into this platform, we can all watch together. No one needs to tell their child, close your eyes at this minute. Oh my gosh, close your eyes.
Yeah, it's the bold and the beautiful now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So that's what we want. That's what we want, the entire family to enjoy the content.
And how is it being a woman leading such a big project in your country, in an entertainment industry that can feel like it's male dominated?
It doesn't feel like it's male dominated. It is male dominated. But I'll just give you a backstory of myself. My sister and I, the way our parents raised us is that they truly enforced in us the belief in pursuing your dreams. So whatever it is that we wanted to do, they encouraged us, they supported us. And I think that seed being planted all those years back has now grown into women who truly believe in themselves, women who believe that they have a space in this industry. Yes, it may be male dominated, that's okay. It doesn't mean that I can't take my space as a woman. I can bring a fresh perspective, I can hold my space, and essentially let's build this industry together, because at times we feel the need to pit men versus women. We don't need to do that. Let's see each other as collaborators, as partners, and let's take this industry to the next level, because this African industry of media and entertainment has got so much potential, yet we haven't reached there. And it's because we don't see each other as collaborators. And it's so essential that we see each other as collaborators. Yes, we may be competitors, but let's see how can we work towards seeing an even bigger and better industry, not just for male or versus woman, but just for the entire continent. Let's rise together.
All right, where can we go to find out more about the platform? How do we actually become a part of the viewership as well, and contribute to the growth of this wonderful African space?
Thank you. So just click on www.nwplus.tv, and then you can start the free trial, which is for 72 hours. After that, you can choose to be a subscriber for just 1 day, so 24 hours, or you can choose to be a weekly subscriber or a monthly subscriber. And our platform is accessible across Africa. Essentially, we ensured that majority of Africans like using mobile money or using their mobile banking apps. So we have ensured that subscribers can use those avenues to pay for their subscriptions and that it's easily accessible throughout the continent.
Fantastic. And can other producers and filmmakers actually submit to the platform from outside of Kenya?
Yes, they can. So the email that they can send their synopsis and trailers for us to review and see if they can be part of this platform is content@nwplus.biz.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for helping us chat about this one. It sounds like an exciting project, but also breaking so many stereotypes in the TV industry. So all the best with this wonderful initiative.
Thank you so much. And next time, if I find myself in Johannesburg, let's do an in-house.
Oh, we would love that.
That would be great.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us. That's Mutoni Wayigwa, co-founder of the NW Plus TV platform. Well, that conversation takes us to 9:30 Central African time. It's time for us to find out what's happening in the sports.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
And a very good morning from the sports desk. I am Musibudi Makura with the latest sports news at the Sawa. So Nigeria's Kano State declared Monday a day of mourning after 22 people died in a road accident while returning from a sports festival in the southwest of the country. Athletes, coaches, officials, medical staff as well as a journalist were among the fatalities when a state bus carrying the team veered off the road and overturned around the town of Dakesale, approximately 40 kilometers from Kanu. This was on Saturday. A further 9 people were injured in the accident, while one person traveling on the bus did not sustain any injuries. Now, the contingent was making a journey of over 1,000 kilometers back from the National Sports Festival in Ogun State, which had concluded on Friday. Shehu Deku, who is the chairman of the Nigerian Sports Commission, said the accident marked a very sad day for Nigerian sport. Now, the National Sports Festival, which marked its 22nd edition this year, is a key event in Nigeria's sporting calendar and is aimed at promoting unity, youth engagement, as well as national development through athletics. Now, the accident has also cast a shadow over what had been a successful competition for Kano State, when the team collecting a total of 29 medals. BBC Sport Africa understands that some of the state's medal winners are among those deceased. Back home now, Andre Klaasen has announced his immediate retirement from international cricket, bringing an end to a distinguished 7-year career for the Proteas men's side. The 33-year-old announced on Monday that he would be stepping away from all white ball formats, which follows his retirement, you remember, from red ball cricket in 2024. Klaasen made his one-day international as well as T20 international debuts back in 2018 and went on to establish himself as one of the most destructive white ball players of his generation. He also played 60 ODIs as well as amassed over 2,000 runs at an average of just under 44 in the middle order. His power-hitting prowess was on full display during a blistering career best 174 against Australia at his home cricket ground Supersport Park in 2023, the second highest score ever recorded by a number 5. Renowned for his dominance against spin, Klaasen also represented South Africa in 58 T20 internationals with a striking rate of 141.84. His ability to take on bowling attacks with calculated aggression also made him a mainstay in the South Africa's limited cricket competitions. On to this now. South African's ultra-marathon star Gerda Steyn has her sights set on completing a coveted Comrades Marathon as well as the Two Oceans Marathon double this year. already having claimed her 5th straight Two Oceans Marathon victory in Cape Town in April. Steyn is now aiming to secure her 3rd consecutive 4th overall Comrades title in the 89-kilometer Comrades Marathon down run that is set for this coming Sunday. She believes she is at a strong form to complete a double this weekend.
I have certainly got my eyes on the Two Oceans and Comrades double this year. It has been my goal from the start of the year. It's what I've been training for. So, yes, 100% that is the goal.
On to tennis news now. World number 361 Louis Boyson has pulled off the biggest shock of this year's French Open with a stunning 4th-round victory against 3rd seed Jessica Pegula. The French player, given a wild card in the main draw after tearing a ACL in her knee just last year, came through 3-6, 6-4 and 6-4 against the US Open runner-up. Now the French player is making her debut in the main draw of a Grand Slam tournament and never played an opponent ranked in the world's top 50. Now the 22-year-old had to stave off 2 break points as she served for the match at 5-4 in a 3rd set before sealing a victory with a thumping 4-hand winner.
Yeah, from the beginning I trust in myself, but for sure when she won the first set was a little bit down for me. But when I came back and won the second set, I start to really think about it, but I also stay in my gameplay and don't try to think a lot about it.
Right, so that's a wrap from the sports desk at the SAWA. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za. Call us 627 11714 4459. I do return in the next hour with more sporting updates for Channel Africa Sport. I am Mosibudi Makura.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Africa. It's time to plug into the heartbeat of the continent. Tune in to Channel Africa, your go-to radio station that broadcasts in 5 different languages.
L'Afrique du Sud célèbre la journée nationale du
Kabla hujaitwa kwa jina la Double K or more of our forests have been destroyed.
Tamo kutuli bwanji ndi Partido Africano da Independência da Guiné.
See, Channel Africa represents every corner of this amazing land. From Lagos to Cape Town, Nairobi to Dakar, we've got you covered with the freshest news, music, and cultures. So, turn up the volume, feel the rhythm. Enjoy the conversation. Channel Africa, the African perspective. No time to waste. Be on the move with Benjamin Moshatama and Palesa.
All right, 37 minutes past 9 o'clock Central African time. Thank you to Musibudi for that update. Now let's find out what's happening in business.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Thank you, Benjamin. Starting in West Africa, Nigeria's livestock minister, Idimaya, says his country is importing dairy cattle from Denmark as it aims to double its milk output within 5 years, part of a plan to cut dairy imports that cost the country $1.5 billion a year. Despite boasting one of Africa's largest cattle populations, Nigeria's milk output of 700,000 tons a year lags its annual consumption of 1.6 million tons. Maya says Nigeria's cattle population exceeding 20 million consists largely of low-yield pastoralist breeds. Maya adds that a Nigerian farm has already imported over 200 heifers from Denmark, building its head through intensive breeding. In North Africa, Egypt's state grains buyer Mostakbal Messi agreed in April to buy around 180,000 metric tons of French wheat from 2 top European traders in a sign of growing acceptance of the new entity by global suppliers. Moshatama Misi bought 260,000 metric ton cargoes from one firm and another similarly sized cargo from another. The private agreement is one of the few instances Moshatama Misi has been able to secure cargoes for Egypt's massive breed subsidy program directly from global suppliers. Those suppliers have been hesitant to deal with the little-known military agency. The Mozambican government has threatened to cut ties with doctors employed on a contract basis if they continue to be on strike. Over 100 doctors at the Maputo Central Hospital have embarked on a strike, raising concerns such as non-payment for overtime, night and weekend shifts, as well as other unfair working conditions. In the past few months, there has been reports of shortage of food and medicine for patients and a lack of resources for doctors working in the emergency unit. Channel Africa's correspondent in Maputo, Milton Malulek, explains.
And the doctors now are saying that we are tired of being blamed because they're saying that we made, actually we swear like we will be there to help and save people, but doesn't mean that we work under poor conditions because they don't have some equipments like gloves to protect themselves. They'll find sometimes in the emergency sector that they don't have those means.
The Economic Freedom Fighters said South African Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana took an incorrect approach in his decision to propose an increase in the general fuel levy. The Western Cape High Court will today hear the party's application against the increase. Godongwana announced the increase when he tabled a third revised budget in Parliament last month. The increase is due to take effect tomorrow. Umphile Maudwe is EFF MP.
Yes, we are vehemently rejecting the fuel levy increase, and our reasoning is very simple. It's a regressive tax. But also, the minister is relying on wrong judgment. So the fuel levy is not a regulatory or an administrative issue. It is a tax issue, and it's a tax of a general application. Doesn't check whether you are rich or you are poor, you are wealthy or not.
Meanwhile, the organization Undoing Tax Abuse, OUTA, says the EFF's case against an increase in the general fuel levy is not strong. OUTA CEO Wayne Duvenage.
I don't think the EFF's case is a strong one. By saying that, we're not advocating that the fuel levy should go up, but it is one of the mechanisms available to the Minister of Finance, which he has every right to do as he balances the books. And he's been very good, I think, in the last 3 years by not increasing it. So going up 16 cents as a reprieve or as an alternative to putting the VAT increase up by 0.5%, we believe is the lesser of two evils.
$1 in Nigeria is at 1,000 naira 586. In Botswana, 13 pula 28. Kenya, the dollar is at 128 shilling 544. Zambia, 27 kwacha 66. BRICS countries, $1 in Brazil is at 5 real 72. Russia, 77 rubles 48. India, 85 rupee 54. China, 71.20. South Africa, 17 rand 86 cents. $1 is 74 pence to the British pound and 88 to the euro. Commodities, gold is at $3,337, platinum at $1,049 per ounce. The price of Brent crude oil, $64.19 a barrel. That is all for now. For any business stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za, or you can call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business, I am Chanduko Ligege.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Get Channel Africa on DSTV Audio Bouquet. Channel 802.
Darubini ya Afrika na I am Henry Shakif.
Hawa wa Afrika Kusini wenye asili ya kizungu ambao wamepewa ukimbizi huko nchini Marekani. Je, nini chanzo cha wao kuomba ukimbizi nchini Marekani?
Wenyewe wajaomba ukimbizi. Kuna shirika fulani inaitwa AfriForum, shirika mbili za wazungu ambao wanatetea haki ya wazungu hapa, AfriForum na Solidarity. hao walienda Marekani kufanya kampeni kusema kwamba wazungu wananyanyaswa hapa Afrika Kusini, na walivyofanya hiyo kampeni, serikali iweze kuwafuatilia kujua nini ambacho mnasema kwamba mnanyanyaswa.
Kuna namna ya wao kwamba wamepoteza uraia wa Afrika Kusini, na je, endapo Trump akamaliza muda wake madarakani, uhalali wao wa kuishi nchini Marekani ukoje?
Itakuwa vigumu, kifupi itakuwa vigumu wenyewe kupoteza uraia wao.
Darubini ya Afrika 11 kamili hadi 12 kamili majira ya Afrika ya Kati.
Tune in and turn up the volume. This is Channel Africa. Upside 1 till 4, live and real with Tepuho Likweleni and Nompumelelo Ngubeni. Tame Ngubeni talks money, Africa in business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6, we put on a little bit more color. Vue d'Afrique with Joel Moteba. We go to East and Central Africa and find Darubini ya Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochi Tika, 7 till 8 p.m. Maria Mokumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some useful knowledge. Kalodiscopia. 9 till 10. We take a look in Africa and beyond. Africa World Hour with Sipiso Makwetla. And we close it up with some love. The Hotlines with Shailen Dikumana. 10 till 12 p.m. on Channel Africa. Across borders, across time zones. On air, online. This is Channel Africa. Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palesa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with Tepuho Likweleni and Nompumelelo Ngubeni. Tame Ngubeni talks money, Africa in business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6, we put on a little bit more color. Vue d'Afrique with Joel Moteba. We go to East and Central Africa and find Darubini ya Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochi Tika, 7 till 8 p.m. Maria Mokumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some useful knowledge. Kalodiscopia. 9 till 10, we take a look in Africa and beyond. Africa World
Definitely a
Hour.
superstar. This one is titled Lonely. It's the remix on that one right here on Channel Africa, featuring Zelensky as well. We keep things moving right here on Channel Africa. Speaking about storytelling, do you think that you have found something that really represents you when you go through all your multiple streaming platforms? Like, yes, you're watching for entertainment value, but do you connect? Do you connect to most of the stories that you watch on social media? I say personally, I don't think I connect. I don't think I see myself in that particular space. Like, for example, if I watch a Real Housewives, even if it's the ones from Africa, I can't connect to them because they feel so far-fetched from who we are. And maybe that's what we watch. It's aspirational, right? Which is good, but it doesn't really hit home as something that is for us.
Yeah, I mean, even when you watch the rich what of Africa.
Yeah.
It's like, man, I see these rich people
because it feels
Africa.
like it's only 3 of them. And the rest of us are just like watching, wow, I wish.
Yeah, it is an interesting one. And I think we have to pursue our own initiatives and actually find our own platforms and create them ourselves, because no one else is going to do it for us. So you can't expect someone coming out of the African continent who also wants business here to actually try to fit in an agenda that's not there. So Netflix has an agenda of just making money.
Yes.
Not an agenda of telling African stories.
Yeah. That's why podcasts have also been so important, because the more African podcasters, the more African creators they show different sides, authentic sides of who they are, saying things that they cannot be sort of, muffled from saying because of, big streaming platforms that don't really chase authenticity. But now more and more people are able to find their own platforms, use the internet to their advantage, and show the stories that connect to themselves.
I mean, what kind of stories would you want to see as an African woman? I would like to see different stories of, complicated African men. I just don't think the narratives are interesting enough. You don't see that man who is actually raising kids alone, or you don't get that story of that boy who's struggling to get through university and has to find ways to actually, in a positive way, to make things happen. You always find like we are gangsters, or there's always something dodgy. We are players on the African continent. There's never like a real average person's story that's been told on some of these platforms. We're always dodgy. We always look weird here on the African continent.
I love the fact that, if you go on your own streaming platform, censoring is a huge issue, because generally in life, there is no censorship. It's not like when you walk down the street and you have a life experience, that experience is censored in any way, right? It happens as authentic as it is. So on a lot of these platforms, there's a lot of censorship around what can't be said, what can't be done. But these are real life experiences, and isn't art supposed to depict reality? And if reality is uncensored, we need to find a more uncensored way. And by uncensored, I don't mean that it must be, do things that aren't really called for people to see, but just like a human experience needs to reflect its reality.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Chenga Joseph, we see you there on our live stream. We see Austin Mdeleman, who is also there on our live stream. Thank you for joining us there. Consuela Nkuku is also there. Chenga Joseph says one-on-one through live stream from Mombasa Road in Nairobi. And he continues to say the hosts and the guests are rich of content. It's educative and elaborative. Thank you so much. It says big ups to Benjamin, big ups to Palesa. Thank you, Chenga, for always supporting us, and big ups to you, definitely. Hey, let's take a break. We'll be back with more.
No fairy tales, just the facts and the music you love on Channel Africa.
Bini ya Afrika na I am Henry Shakif.
Hawa wa Afrika Kusini wenye asili ya kizungu ambao wamepewa ukimbizi huko nchini Marekani. Je, nini chanzo cha wao kuomba ukimbizi nchini Marekani?
Wenyewe hawajaomba ukimbizi. Kuna shirika fulani inaitwa AfriForum, shirika mbili za wazungu ambao wanatetea haki ya wazungu hapa, AfriForum na Solidarity. Hao walienda Marekani kufanya kampeni kusema kwamba wazungu wananyanyaswa hapa Afrika Kusini, na walizofanya hiyo kampeni serikali iweze kuwafuatilia kujua nini ambacho mnasema kwamba mnanyanyaswa.
Kuna namna ya wao kwamba wamepoteza uraia wa Afrika Kusini, na je, endapo Trump akamaliza muda wake madarakani, uhalali wao wa kuishi nchini Marekani ukoje?
Itakuwa vigumu, kifupi itakuwa vigumu wenyewe kupoteza uraia wao.
Darubini ya Afrika 11 kamili hadi 12 kamili majira ya Afrika ya Kati.
Get the news, music and lifestyle of Africa on Channel Africa, the African perspective. 9 to 12 midday Central African Time. On the move with Palesa and Benjamin Moshatama. With Sipiso Makwetla. And we close it up with some love. The Hotlines with Shailen Dikumana. 10 till 12 p.m. on Channel Africa. Across borders, across time zones. On air, online. This is Channel Africa. Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palesa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with Tepuho Likweleni and Nompumelelo Ngubeni. Tame Ngubeni talks money, Africa in business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6, we put on a little bit more color. Vue d'Afrique with Joel Moteba. We go to Eastern Central Africa and find Darubinia Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochitika, 7 till 8 p.m. Maria Mokumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some useful knowledge. Kalodiscopia. 9 till 10. We take a look in Africa and beyond. Africa World Hour with Sipiso Makwetla. And we close it up with some love. The Hotlines with Shailen Dikumana. 10 till 12 p.m. on Channel Africa. Across borders, across time zones. On air, online. This is Channel Africa. Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palesa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with Tepuho Likweleni and Nompumelelo Ngubeni. Tame Ngubeni talks money, Africa in business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6, we put on a little bit more color. Vue d'Afrique with Joel Moteba. We go to Eastern Central Africa and find Darubinia Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochitika, 7 till 8 p.m. Maria Mokumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some useful knowledge. Kalodiscopia. 9 till 10, we take a look in Africa and beyond. Africa World Hour with Sipiso Makwetla. And we close it up with some love. The Hotlines with Shailen Dikumana. 10 till 12 p.m. on Channel Africa. Across borders, across time zones. On air, online. This is Channel Africa.
Nice. This one is titled Nitao Bay. It takes us to 56 minutes past 9 o'clock Central African time. Well, we're going to be speaking about your bank balance a little bit later in our Money Matters feature. It's an issue.
Do we have to? Do we have to speak about my bank balance? Oh, goodness.
Well, we're going to speak about it because, you know, you can always revisit it and find ways to actually make a little bit more of adjustments when it comes to your financial situation. The thing about it, I remember we had a guest, I think last year, who was speaking about the fact that some people have a literal fear of going into their apps and opening their bank statements because they just have a fear. They don't have a good relationship with their bank statement. Maybe it's because you know the bank balance.
Yeah. But the thing is, you know, it's one thing to get your bank statement, open it, and just see all the transactions you've done for the month. What exactly are you looking for?
Yeah.
What are you looking? I mean, yeah, I see my bank statement. I see I spent a ridiculous amount of money on maybe a bag or a shoe. I see that. But what are you telling me? I see nothing else. Yeah, I see I've got bills. That's what my bank statement is telling me. I see that I may be a little short by the end of the month, but what exactly am I looking for?
That's the thing. That's what we're going to be uncovering, because I think most of the time that's what we do. We don't even print it out and cross and cross things that we are not supposed to be there. And
like what?
Like your bag, expensive bag. You can't
It's
be
supposed
buying
to
a
be
new bag
there.
every month.
It's
Buddy.
supposed to be there.
You've got enough in your closet.
The new outfit I bought, it's supposed to be there on the bank statement. I was supposed to buy it. What else was I supposed to wear? There's nothing in my closet.
And at times, it's small things, right, that you'll start noticing on your bank statement, like the everyday coffees. And you're like, I didn't know I have so much coffee in my system.
And what about the food from the canteen?
Yeah, me.
Yeah,
I'm very
Benji.
guilty of that. But I do it less now.
Okay, yes, you do.
I'm
you
like,
do.
no more canteen food.
Canteen food. In the back statement, canteen.
It used to be like that all the time.
Hey, Benji.
Why are you exposing me in front of my fellow on the movers?
I'm sorry. But I mean, we are looking into the bank statements after all. We might as well start ticking off
and
the things on the list.
Look at me like, hey, this one.
This one with the canteen. And he'd come back from the canteen and say, the food from the canteen is not always nice, But then that day he's going to back to the canteen to go buy the not nice food.
Because of the convenience. And that's the thing about what happens with your bank statement. You start seeing how you buy things not out of necessity,
right,
but you end up buying things out of convenience. And sometimes you just like, I shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be going to the canteen every single day.
And things add up over time. It might sound like a small thing, right? 60 rands for a plate. But if you buy it every day or more than 4 times a week, in a month, it actually adds up. And you could actually be doing something more productive with that particular amount.
Yeah.
But I don't want to. I still want to go shopping. I want to shop.
Ay, man, Pali, you work on that part.
I want to shop.
I'm working on the canteen.
Okay.
You work on the shopping.
I'm going to try.
I'll tell you one thing. Pali is an addict of just scrolling this one website.
Yes.
It's like they've got specials for days.
And they've got so much homeware. If I could buy stuff there every day, Benji, I could buy things there. I'm literally addicted. I just need more money. I want to buy everything that's on there. They've got these nice couches. They've got like rugs. And sometimes you see like, oh my goodness, like appliances.
Yeah.
Oh, they've got like, there's a patio thing that I want there. It's 25,000. I don't have 25,000. Benji, give me some money, please.
I'm just like you.
Benji, no ways.
We have money in the spirit.
Spiritual money.
Well, thank you, Vusimuzi Ndlungwane. We see you there on our live feed. Asanda Zuzile, we see you watching as well. Johannes Mudiba, we see you there. It's good to have South Africans on that platforms. Let us know where in South Africa you are watching us right here on Channel Africa. It's 1000 hours Central African time, 10 o'clock. Let's quickly find out what's happening in the news.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Benjamin. Looking at your top stories, the M23 rebels accused of executing over 20 civilians in 2 days in the DRC, and voting has gotten underway in South Korea in a snap presidential election. Your latest news, greetings to our listeners. Human Rights Watch has accused the M23 rebels in the Democratic Republic of Congo of executing over 20 civilians over 2 days in February in the eastern city of Goma. In a report published yesterday, the international non-governmental organization offers a snapshot of the violence during the latest escalation of the decade-long conflict. It says the 21 slain civilians include 6 men and 1 woman who were shot in the head near Katindo military camp in Goma on the 22nd of February. The reports also called for commanders and combatants who directly ordered or carried out abuses to be held criminally accountable. The M23 rebels have seized eastern Congo's 2 largest cities, Goma and Bakuva, in an offensive that began in January. The unprecedented advance has killed thousands of people and forced hundreds to flee. The corruption case of South Africa's former President Jacob Zuma and French arms company Thales will be back in the High Court in Pietermaritzburg in the KwaZulu-Natal province this morning. Judge Nkosinathi Chili will consider Thales' application to be acquitted on all charges due to the death of key witnesses. Zuma's legal team has brought a similar application. The state opposes both applications, Dries Liebenberg explains.
Thales was awarded the contract to supply the weapon systems for the new corvettes. It's alleged that Thales agreed to pay Zuma an annual bribe so that he will protect them in the investigation into alleged irregularities in the arms deal. Defense legal teams have argued that the evidence of Thales South Africa's directors in the 1990s and early 2000s, Pierre Moineau and Alain Tetard, are crucial. The two men died in 2021 and 2022 respectively.
South Africa's Umkhonto weSizwe leader and former President Jacob Zuma will further brief the media in Durban in the KwaZulu-Natal province today. He is expected to focus on the current political climate in the country. This after the Western Cape High Court ruling yesterday said that the National Assembly's decision to designate the party's deputy president as member of the Judicial Service Commission was invalid and unconstitutional. Last week, Colin Makubene replaced Mzwane Lemanyi, who was removed as chief whip of the MK party in Parliament. Myanmar's junta says it has extended a temporary ceasefire to June to support reconstruction and relief efforts following a massive earthquake in late March that killed at least 3,700 people and devastated parts of the country. The junta initially announced a ceasefire in early April, days after the March 28 earthquake, to support relief efforts, following similar moves by anti-junta armed groups. The opposition groups have also extended their ceasefire to the end of June. And lastly, voting is gotten underway in South Korea in a snap presidential election called after the impeachment of the former president Yoon Suk-yeol. He was forced from office after a disastrous attempt to declare martial law left the country deeply divided. The opinion polls have put the Democratic Party leader well ahead of his conservative rival. A former trade minister in South Korea, Yoo Han-kyu, says the economy is key in this election.
These 6 months of prolonged political turmoil, domestic consumption and business sentiment is really one of the lowest right now. And then also we are facing this trade headwind with this President Trump. So I think this is a moment that the new administration really needs to tackle these big challenges as a top priority.
Recapping on your top stories, Human Rights Watch has accused the M23 rebels in the Democratic Republic of Congo of executing over 20 people over 2 days in February in the eastern city of Goma. In a report published yesterday, the international non-governmental organization offered a snapshot of the violence during the latest escalation of the decade-long conflict. Now, for any news stories you would like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us at +27 11 714 4459. Channel Africa News, I'm Onele Ntsinzi.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
All right, it's 6 minutes past 10 Central Africa time. It's the second hour of On the Move right here on Channel Africa. Happy Tuesday to you and yours. And hopefully you are tuned in wherever you are in the world, on the continent, in the diaspora, on www.channelafrica.co.za, on our audio bouquets, that's DSTV channel 802 and OpenView HD channel 628. And of course, another great way to listen to Channel Africa is via the SABC Plus app. You can download that app on your app store and tune in to Channel Africa under the radio section. It's time for our Money Matters feature, and this is where we speak all things personal finance. Ben and I have been going at each other. I think over the years when we've been working together, we've seen a little bit, just a glimpse of some of our spending habits. Ben and the canteen food, he's gone down on that. Me and some of the clothes spending that I do, impromptu. It's an issue. But when you look at your bank statement and you want to fix your finances, do you actually know what you're looking for? I mean, yeah, sure, you can see what's coming in, what's coming out, and what you're investing or saving. But do you know what any of it means? Do you actually understand how to look into your bank statement? I mean, it's become easier than ever because we all have that banking apps on our phones. We even get notifications on our phones, and we get SMSs and emails and even physical delivery of our statements. Does it all matter if you don't actually know how to go about unpacking or looking at your bank statements? We'll be joined on the line in this hour of the show by Stian de Wit, Executive Head of Financial Planning at financial advisory firm NMG Benefits, to help us really know what we're looking at and fix our finances by going through our bank statements.
Yeah, it's a tough one, right? And we avoid it. Have you ever gotten a lot of debt mail and you just throw it away?
Yeah, it's not like I don't know. Sit there.
We do the same with our bank accounts, don't we? And we'll explore that a little bit with our guests who'll just chat with us on how to have a better relationship with our bank statements. But more importantly, what should we be looking out for? We've had so many Money Matters conversations, and almost every expert says, check your bank statements. And we always we should, but we never really know how to do that. What should you be looking out for? And also, when you check your bank statements, also don't just look at where you're spending the money, but also have the courage to look where you are saving the money as well. Look at those statements as well, and look at how your interest is growing. Don't forget, even when you are looking at your shares as well, to go over there and just check how your shares are doing, if you have any of them. So anything that you're investing into, always make sure that you are checking your statements there to see if there's growth or if there's decline. But that's a conversation we'll have with our guest in a few minutes' time. Remember, we want to hear from you. You can come on our live stream on our Facebook page. It's simply titled Channel Africa, and let us know where you are listening to Channel Africa from. Hey, we always get a beautiful smile on our faces when we hear from you. It's always encouraging to know that you are out there, but also where you are listening to Channel Africa from. Also, tell us what you think about the different conversations that we are having here. Do you look at your bank statement? Is it easy for you to actually, after 3 days, after month end, or when the money comes in and you're like, it's only been 3 days, I've got so many days of the month to go, but I've got this sad looking statement. Yeah, it's not easy, but we'll help you through it, and we'll also help ourselves. Look, we're also growing with you, and we're also having this experience with you of trying to be better with our finances. Remember, you can also WhatsApp us on +2763 406 9126.
The EU African SME Summit. Join more than 200 change makers from June 19 to June 21 at the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. It's where trade meets transformation. We are building Africa's future through AFCFTA, the EU's global gateway, and the power of small businesses. It's an opportunity to spark collaboration and unlock Africa's investment. Presented by the European Entrepreneurs, the Pan-African Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and Add Value Africa. This is a summit not to be missed. Register now at euafricasmesummit.eu.
Mix Vibration sur Channel Africa.
Révérend Dr Alain.
Je suis content, très heureux d'être de la partie ce soir et bonjour à tous nos auditeurs.
Je rappelle que pour les intimes, il vous appelle bien sûr BMB. Aujourd'hui, nous parlons courage sur Mix Vibration. Comment définissez-vous le terme courageux?
Ça vient du latin cor, qui veut tout simplement exprimer la bravoure, la force de l'âme ou encore la virilité, le héroïsme que quelqu'un peut avoir en face de difficultés, en face de problèmes, en face de défis.
Mix Vibration, tous les dimanches de 18h à 19h, temps universel.
Download the SABC app and take Channel Africa with you everywhere you go. keeping you on the know and on the move.
How often do you check your bank statements? No, I know you're like, Palesa, why are you asking me this? I am not in the mood. It's only Tuesday morning. Yes, you have to speak about it because, it's become more and more easy to access our finances. There are apps on our phones, easy to see. You don't even have to put a PIN in there to open your app. You just open it, Face ID, and then there you are inside your finances. But other than transacting on there, do you even ever go to the section that says statements? You will probably receive, your transactional notifications on your phone as well. Maybe you even get emails per month on your bank statement. But are you even opening that email? Well, let's say you are. Let's say you are opening the email. You see the transactions that happen throughout your day or throughout your month. What comes in, what comes out. What do you do with that information? That's also like, I know that I'm spending more money than I have. I understand that, I may not be holding my finances in a proper manner. Maybe I'm not saving, I'm not investing, but that's just because I don't have the money, not because I'm missing something on my bank statement. Well, that might actually be wrong. In fact, our expert today will share simple tips and tricks to help you check your bank statement and stay ahead of the game when it comes to your personal finances. This is the Money Matters feature here on The Move. And joining us on the line is Tian David, Executive Head of Financial Planning and Financial Advisory Firm NMG Benefits, to help us really know what we're looking at when we open those bank statements. Tian, thank you so much for your time. Good morning.
Good morning, Palesa, and good morning to your listeners.
Well, it's not an easy thing at all. We all want to have, better purpose for our finances. We all want to be financially well, but most of us don't actually know the tools to do so. And even if we receive our bank statements, no matter how convenient and easy it is, we're not quite sure what we're looking at there.
So, Palesa, I think we need to take one step back. And Simon Sinek wrote a book, It Starts With Why. And I think that applies to our bank statements. You need to understand what motivates you and your why, because your bank statement actually just shows you what your priorities are, and that's a true reflection of what you value in life. So I think when it comes to your bank statements, we first have to go and establish what's important to us in life, and then go and say, okay, based on what's important to us in life, how does our bank statements reflect that? Because I'm going to use an example. Let's say, for instance, someone spends 1,000 Rand a month on DSTV, and they have a serious problem. And they come to a place where they say, we need to cut off our DSTV. And on our bank statement, we see that's a major problem. If they don't have the why and the urgency to do it, they're not going to do it. And I'm just using that as an extreme example.
Yeah.
But I think we need to first start there and say, why are we doing what we're doing? And then align and say, okay, then we can go and look at the big picture and say, okay, what's our total income? What's our expenses? Because some people have more month left at the end of the money. So they run out of money and
they still have more month.
Yeah. So we've seen statistics now come through where certain banks say that by the 5th of every month, people have less than 20% of their money left for the rest of the month.
Yeah. I can testify. Stian, let's talk a little bit about the why, because that why seems very ominous to me. I'm not quite sure what's the why all about. What are you asking when you're saying why? What's the real question there?
Okay, so questions are like, what's important to you in life? What do you value? For instance, do you value financial freedom? Do you value status? Now, the definition we've heard a lot of people say status is merely buying stuff I don't need with money that I don't have to impress people I don't like. And we've seen that people go out and they buy shoes to impress people.
Don't speak about the shoes. Why are you coming for the shoes first, Jan? I'm not happy with you right now.
Sorry, Palesa. Okay, let's take it to the men's side. Men spend money on cars. They go and buy a fancy car. Yeah. The first salary they go and buy a GTI Golf or a BMW to impress their friends. But by the 30th or by the 13th or the 15th of the month, they can't put food on the table. Or they buy the fancy car, but they can't even afford the insurance on the car.
Yeah.
So we need to go back and say, why are we doing what we're doing on our budgets? And saying, okay, let's establish what's important to us. Are your family important to you? Are your financial future? Is it important for you to have status, but be at a place where every month you struggle, you wonder, where am I going to get money to get past the 15th of the month?
Yeah.
Now, by the 10th of the month, I'm running out of money. I have to go to loan sharks. We are seeing in NMG, we've partnered with some companies that actually specializes in helping people get out of debt, reckless lending, even people that have debt that has prescribed 3 years older than what they're supposed to be. And that type of stuff, we need to get people to understand what they're doing and why they're doing it. Do they want financial freedom? I always tell the joke of there's two guys sitting on the stoop, and this one guy has this dog, this big boerboel dog, and this dog is crying the whole time, and then the friend asked him, so why is your dog crying? He says, no, he's sitting on a nail. He says, but why doesn't he move? He says, no, he probably doesn't hurt enough. And a lot of times that's the case with our budgets. We get into a place where it just doesn't hurt enough for us to do something about it. And the problem is we think the next raise we're going to get is going to sort out the problem.
Is it not?
It doesn't.
Oh, no.
I've seen people that earn, listen to this, R1 million a month that are in financial dire straits.
Yeah.
Sure.
Because
I want to be those guys. I'll be more responsible.
You promise?
No, but that's the problem. What people do is when the income increases, they expand their lifestyle.
Yeah.
And they don't go and say, what do I value? So, obviously, okay, I'm not a psychologist, but that's where we need to start. Then we go and say, okay, let's categorize our expenses. Let's go and say, okay, what's our fixed expenses? What's our variable expenses? And what's our discretionary expenses? What I call obligation, needs, and wants.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to stop you there. We need to take a break, Stia, and I think you're ending it at the right point because we're going to come back and then you're going to unpack for us what those three categories are and how to unpack them when you're looking at your bank statement, of course, on your journey to becoming financially well. It's 20 minutes past 10 Central Africa time. What's happening in your bank statement? Be honest and let us know. Join our live stream on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And of course, let us know on our WhatsApp number, +27 63 406
Africa's very own think tank. This is Channel Africa Online. www.channelafrica.co.za. Africa Update on Channel Africa.
Over 35 organizations are expected to converge at the Union Buildings in Pretoria over illegal immigrants in South Africa. They say South Africa is facing a myriad of challenges and that foreign nationals are worsening the situation. Yes, Khota, just through the main aims of the march, what you're hoping to get from them.
So we are basically saying to the President of the Republic of South Africa, illegal immigration is a pandemic. Implement the laws. It's not that we don't have these laws. How many people are being human trafficked? How many people are being hijacked? Our schools are full. Our hospitals are full. And it's almost as if we're carrying the burdens of the entire Africa at the expense of South Africans. And we are basically saying enough is enough. We want the President of the Republic of South Africa to meet us at the Union Building. We've submitted letters to say that we are coming on this day. We want to meet with him there to give him this mandate because clearly he has failed citizens. He's failed South Africans by failing to implement the law. That's the most important thing. We are going to give you a mandate. We, the people, shall govern.
Africa Update with Lulu Kabu on Channel Africa every weekday from 12 to 2 p.m. 9 to 12 midday Central African Time. On the Move with Palesa and Benjamin Moshatama.
Hey, it's time for our Money Matters feature. We continue it with Stian de Wit, who is an executive head of financial planning at financial advisory firm NMG Benefits. Let's look at those categories that you were talking about as we're trying to break down how to check our bank balance, Stian.
Okay, so let's repeat. It's what we call obligations, needs, and wants. So obligations are those things that you have to spend money on every month. For instance, your rent or your bond. If you don't do it, you're going to be on the street. There are certain things. Then you have needs, like you need to buy clothing. You don't need to go and buy it every month. But eventually, over a period of time, if you're going to rock up at work with shoddy clothes and everything, your boss is going to have a conversation with you.
I like that needs, Stian. Do I need to buy an outfit for every event I'm going to? Say yes, please. No?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
And then your wants is your discretionary things. Like, for instance, going out for dinner or takeaway and stuff like that. Now, one thing that is very, very important here, where a lot of people fall into traps, they go and make their wants their obligations. So let me explain that. They want the fancy car, or they want the boat, or they want these clothes. Then they go and buy it on debt. Or they go overextend themselves on debt. Now, all of a sudden, you have to pay it. And now it's become an obligation.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't do that, you actually affect your credit score. So, again, now it comes back to why are you doing it? So I think sometimes we have to be very honest with ourselves and brutally honest with ourselves and say, why are we doing what we're doing and what motivates us?
Yeah.
And that determines those categories.
I think I love the fact that you are highlighting those. So when you do print down your bank statements, there's so many things that are probably listed there in terms of your debits and your credits. What should you actually be looking out for as something as a red flag?
Okay, so let's be practical. Someone prints out their bank. A lot of people do it digitally or whatever, so you can use Excel or whatever. You get tech-savvy guys that can run pivot tables and all that stuff. But let's go to the normal guy on the street. He has bank statement. Take 3 highlighters and first go and highlight and say, is this an obligation, is it a need, or is it a want? And highlight them. Okay. That's first one thing to do. So you go through every single line item. Now, that is painful, especially if you haven't done it before, because then you actually realize what you're spending. I sat with a couple the other day, and they had a problem. They couldn't figure out why they weren't getting through the month, and they were spending 5,000 a month on biltong.
No way. No way. I mean, I love biltong, but 5,000 rand on biltong?
But they didn't realize it.
Wow.
When we went through the budget, they started to realize it.
Yeah,
that's the
wow.
first thing. Then what you can also do, so now you also might have items where you say, hey, wait, I don't know what this thing is. So you might get another highlighter in a different color or a different color pen or whatever and highlight that and say, okay, but what is this? Is this something that I forgot about that you had to cancel? A gym membership that I took out 5 years ago. I've never been to the gym before, and it might be something like that. Or it might be an insurance policy that you shouldn't have, or these guys that a lot of times sell you stuff that you and we've seen that we guys have a massive problem with a cell phone account that they've cancelled, and the guys, the cell phone providers keep debiting this guy's bank account.
Yeah, because apparently if you don't report that you finished paying that cell phone, they just keep debiting if you don't call them and tell them, I'm done now. And those are the things that are important for you to track, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes. So flag and transactions like that. It might be that you have a Apple account that you see, okay, but now this massive 600 Rand thing comes off my account and you don't know about it. So there are items like that you highlight. So that's what we call leakage items. and you say, okay, what are these items? And let's go and figure out what those ones are. And you can save a lot of money, thousands of rands a month and a year, by just identifying those items that you might have forgotten about.
Yeah, and some people also kind of forget, this is an area that I'd like us just to highlight briefly. There are other investments and they don't track what's happening, whether they've bought stock somewhere or shares somewhere. They kind of do that and they forget that, okay, I've actually got this stock somewhere, but it's just there. I'm not tracking it. How important is to also track those savings and investments as well as you try to actually consolidate all the money that you have on your bank system?
That's a really good question, and I think that it's important to track them. So what I always say is sit with a professional advisor around things like that, because you might have, let's say for instance, you've saved money in a savings account, as an example. We're in that, or a unit trust or a money market where you get a 6 or 8% or even a 4 or 5% growth in that portfolio. But you have a credit card with 24% interest that you're paying on, or a loan shark that you're paying to. It doesn't make sense to save at 2 or 3 or 5 or 7%, but you are paying interest at 24%. So sit with a professional that can actually help you get out of those debt cycles and debt spirals. Because a lot of times, when you sit with someone to readjust your budget, you can alleviate and open up cash flow for yourself. And in business, they say there are only 3 rules. The first rule is cash flow, the second rule is cash flow, and the third rule is cash flow. And that applies to individuals as well, because when they have cash flow challenges, we know in a work environment, people make irrational decisions. They can't think properly, they don't sleep properly, they have psychological issues that come about, and it actually decreases your productivity, which might affect your ability to earn a promotion.
Yeah, absolutely.
A budget is so important to manage properly.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I think we've touched on some of the critical elements. Thank you so much, Stian. You've done such a fantastic job in making us understand all the key priorities that we should be looking at when we are looking at our bank balance or our bank statement. Tell us, where can we go to find out more about the NMG benefits and how we can benefit from your services?
There's on our website, nmgbenefits.co.za, we actually have a debt amortization calculator that people can go into that can help them get out of debt. We have a lot of tools like budgeting tools. We have benefit counselors that free of charge, complimentary, they were not working on commission or anything, that can guide people in companies, that can guide them out of debt and help them with budgets and stuff like that. So we have a lot of free tools available on our website. And if they don't find what they're looking for there, they can, on the website, just log a query and someone will get in touch with them and can help them with that process as well.
Stian, you are awesome. Thank you for helping us on this one and making it so practical for us.
It's a pleasure. Have an awesome day.
That's Stian de Wit, Executive Head of Financial Planning at financial advisory firm NMG Benefits. Hey, let's quickly move on. It's 10:30 Central African Time. Musibudi Makura is standing by. She's going to give us the latest sports.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Benjamin. A very good morning from the sports desk. So Mamelodi Sundowns arrived back home from Egypt on Monday afternoon, this after losing the CAF Champions League final. Coach Miguel Cardoso says their poor start against Pyramids FC in that CAF Champions League final is what ultimately cost them the continental title. The Egyptians were crowned winners following a 3-2 aggregate victory over 2 legs, having dominated Sunday's second leg at the 30 June Stadium to not only claim their maiden continental title, but also qualify for the 2029 FIFA Club World Cup. Cardoso admits that they lacked the spark needed for a game of this magnitude.
But at the same time, I think that something missed for us to be in the level that we needed in order to win. It's not a question of who was best or who was worse, because when there's a winner, it means that he was better. What I feel is that we in some moments didn't find a way to compete in the level that we should have competed in order to win the trophy.
Now, the Portuguese mentor also added their route to the final of the Champions League should not be taken for granted.
On the way to the final, we played Al Ahly, that is still the first on the CAF ranking, and we beat them on the semi-final. And we played the Esperance Tunis, that on the moment we beat them was the second on the ranking of CAF. And when we arrived in the club was struggling in order to try to pass the group stage of the Champions League. In a very tough group, with also Asfar, we were able to make the group stage and proceed. What I mean is that throughout the tournament, our players were able to show a great commitment, a great attitude, and also quality.
On to this now. Nigeria's Kano State declared Monday a day of mourning after 22 people died in a road accident while returning from a sports festival in the southwest of the country. Athletes, coaches, officials, medical staff, as well as a journalist were among the fatalities when a state bus carrying the team veered off the road and overturned around the town of Dakasala, approximately 40 kilometers from Kano. This was on Saturday. A further 9 people were injured in the accident, while one person travelling on the bus did not sustain any injuries. Now, the contingent was making a journey of over 1,000 kilometres back from the National Sports Festival in Ogun State, which had concluded on Friday. Shehu Deko, who's the chairman of the Nigerian Sports Commission, said the accident marked a very sad day of Nigerian sport. Now, the National Sports Festival, which marked its 22nd edition this year, is a key event in Nigeria's sporting calendar and is aimed at promoting unity, youth engagement, as well as national development through athletics. The accident has cast a shadow over what had been a successful competition for Kano State, with the team collecting a total of 29 medals. Now, BBC Sport Africa understands that some of the state's medals winners are among those deceased. And finally, South African ultra-marathon star Gert de Steen has her sights set on completing the coveted Comrades Marathon as well as a Two Oceans Marathon double this year. Having already claimed her 5th straight Two Oceans Marathon victory in Cape Town in April, Steen is now aiming to secure her 3rd consecutive 4th overall Comrades title in the 89-kilometre Comrades Marathon down run that is set for the Sunday. Now, she believes she's in a very strong form to complete the double this weekend.
I have certainly got my eyes on the Two Oceans and Comrades double this year. It has been my goal from the start of the year. It's what I've been training for. So, yes, 100% that is the goal.
Right, so the time is 10:35 a.m. Central African time. That's a wrap of your sports news this hour. More sporting updates coming up in the 3rd and final hour of On The Move. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, our email address is newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11714 4459. For Channel Africa Sport, I am Musibudi Makura.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective. We are on Open Your Bouquet. Channel 628.
Parlez-vous couramment le français? Êtes-vous passionné par la radio? Et êtes-vous qualifié pour travailler en Afrique du Sud? Envoyez-nous votre CV et vos 3 minutes démo en MP3 à @channelafrica.co.za pour avoir une chance de rejoindre la famille Channel Africa. Si vous n'avez pas de réponse après 14 jours, cela signifie que vous n'avez pas été retenu. Channel Africa, la perspective africaine.
9 to 12 midday, Central African Time. On the Move with Palesa and Benjamin Moshatama.
Hey, 36 minutes past 10 o'clock Central African Time. Let's get the latest business news.
Business news on Channel Africa. the African perspective.
Thank you, Benjamin. Good morning. Nigeria's livestock minister, Idimaya, says his country is importing dairy cattle from Denmark as it aims to double its milk output within 5 years as part of a plan to cut dairy imports that cost the country $1.5 billion a year. Despite boasting one of Africa's largest cattle populations, Nigeria's milk output of 700,000 tons a year lags its annual consumption of 1.6 million tons. Maya says Nigeria's cattle population exceeding 20 million consists largely of low-yield pastoralist breeds. Maya adds that a Nigerian farm has already imported over 200 heifers from Denmark, building its herd through intensive breeding. The Mozambican government has threatened to cut ties with doctors employed on a contract basis if they continue to be on strike. Over 100 doctors at the Maputo Central Hospital have embarked on a strike, raising concerns such as non-payment for overtime, night and weekend shifts, as well as other unfair working conditions. In the past few months, there has been reports of shortage of food and medicine for patients and a lack of resources for doctors working in the emergency unit. Channel Africa's correspondent in Maputo, Milton Malulek, explains.
And the doctors now are saying that we are tired of being blamed because they're saying that we made, actually we swear like we will be there to help and save people, but doesn't mean that we work under poor conditions because they don't have some equipments like gloves to protect themselves. They'll find sometimes in the emergency sector that they don't have those means.
The Economic Freedom Fighters says South African Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana took an incorrect approach in his decision to propose an increase in the general fuel levy. The Western Cape High Court will today hear the party's application against the increase. Godongwana announced the increase when he tabled a third revised budget in Parliament last month. The increase is due to take effect tomorrow. Ompile Mautwe is EFF MP.
Yes, we are vehemently rejecting the fuel levy increase, and our reasoning is very simple. It's a regressive tax. But also, the minister is relying on wrong judgment. So the fuel levy is not a regulatory or an administrative issue. It is a tax, and it's a tax of a general application. Doesn't check whether you are rich or you are poor, you are wealthy or not.
Vodacom Group has named its Egypt CEO Mohamed Abdallah as the new top boss for Vodacom International Markets. According to the company, under the expanded role, Abdallah will oversee operations in additional African markets, including the Democratic Republic of Congo, Lesotho, Mozambique, and Tanzania. The government of Panama says the world's largest banana-producing company, Chiquita, has removed its administrative staff from the country in response to an ongoing strike. The firm had already sacked 5,000 of its workers from its farms in Bocas del Toro province on Panama's Caribbean coast. The BBC's Leonardo Rocha has more details.
Chiquita says it's lost $75 million since the Banana Workers Union joined a nationwide strike against proposed pension reforms. The company, which operates in dozens of other countries, says it also wants to fire the remainder of its staff in Panama, though it's not clear whether such dismissals would be permanent or if this is a pressure tactic.
$1 in Nigeria is trading at 1,000 Naira 583, in Botswana 13 Pula 26, in Kenya 128 shilling 28, in Zambia 26 Kwacha 65. BRICS countries, $1 in Brazil is at 5 real 70, Russia 78 rubles 65, India 85 rupee 40, China 71.20, South Africa $1 is at 17 rand 89 cents. $1 is 73 pence to the British pound and 87 to the euro. Commodities, gold is at $3,335, platinum at $1,062 per ounce. The price of Brent crude oil, $64.96 a barrel. That's all. For any business stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email, newsroom@channelafrica.co.za, or you can call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business, I am Chanduko Ligege.
Business news on on Channel Africa. The African Perspective. Call us on +27 63 406 9126.
I can see my whole world changing.
And contribute to the conversation. It's Channel Africa's birthday month.
Happy birthday!
Celebrate Africa's voice with us. Catch us on SABC Plus, DSTV Audio Bouquet 802, and Satellite Channel PAS10.
Darubini ya Afrika na I am Henry Shakif.
Hawa wa Afrika Kusini wenye asili ya kizungu ambao wamepewa ukimbizi huko nchini Marekani. Je, nini chanzo cha wao kuomba ukimbizi nchini Marekani?
Wenyewe wajaomba ukimbizi. Kuna shirika fulani inaitwa AfriForum, shirika mbili za wazungu ambao wanatetea haki ya wazungu hapa, AfriForum na Solidarity. Hao walienda Marekani kufanya kampeni kusema kwamba wazungu wananyanyaswa hapa Afrika Kusini, na walivyofanya hiyo kampeni serikali iweze kuwafuatilia kujua nini ambacho mnasema kwamba mnanyanyaswa.
Kuna namna ya wao kwamba wamepoteza uraia wa Afrika Kusini, na je, endapo Trump akamaliza muda wake madarakani, uhalali wao wa kuishi nchini Marekani ukoje?
Itakuwa vigumu, kifupi itakuwa vigumu wenyewe kupoteza uraia wao.
Darubini ya Afrika 11 kamili hadi 12 kamili majira ya Afrika ya Kati.
We are up, we are ready, we are on the move with Palesa and Benjamin Moshatama on Channel Africa.
My love is bigger than the ocean. Why your skin like a lotion? Loving you is my devotion. Give you girl full potion. Oh my beautiful addiction. With a sweet vibration. The two of we is a vision. Anytime I slip your name I dimension. So tell me.
Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palesa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with Tepu Kholikweleni and Nompumelelo Ngubeni. Tame Ngubeni talks money, Africa in business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6, we put on a little bit more color. Vue d'Afrique with Joel Moteba. We go to East and Central Africa and find Darubinia Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochi Tika, 7 till 8 p.m. Maria Mokumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some Lucifer knowledge. Kalodiscopia. 9 till 10. We take a look in Africa and beyond. Africa World Hour with Sipiso Makwetla. And we close it up with some love. The Hotlines with Shailen Dikumana. 10 till 12 p.m. on Channel Africa. Across borders, across time zones. On air, online. This is Channel Africa. Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palesa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with Tepu Kholikweleni and Nompumelelo Ngubeni. Tame Ngubeni talks money, Africa in business.
Okay, Pato ranking there featuring Diamond Platinums. It's 46 minutes past 10 o'clock Central African time. You are listening to the best music, best content here on the African continent. That is us right here on Channel Africa, giving you news, information, and entertainment from that African perspective. Well, we're going to move into our interesting Vintage Africa today, and we've looked at this before, but I thought let's revisit this because it's always interesting. Vintage Africa is our feature where I tend to look back at something that defines us here on the African continent. Today we're going to be looking at something that is very interesting. It's the new month. It's the new month right now, 3 days into the new month. We're right there in the middle of the month. So I thought let's look at different African calendars.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know. We love that kind of conversation.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting that the calendars are actually very not so different from, the mainstream calendar to a large degree. There are those who actually don't subscribe to this particular one that we have right now. But we're going to start with one titled the Ge'ez calendar, which is the Ethiopian calendar.
I think that's the most popular one, isn't it? Because Ethiopia, was it the only part of Africa that was not colonized?
Yeah.
And that means they kept their original calendar and they still use it today.
Yeah. So the Ge'ez calendar is a solar calendar, but what's interesting about it is that it has 7 to 8 years behind the Gregorian calendar.
Okay.
And the difference stems from the fact that the Ethiopian calendar places the birth of Jesus on 7 BC and starts its count from that particular point.
Okay.
There's also a very interesting that fact, because sometimes we think like biblical narratives are actually a colonized experience, as if before we were colonized we didn't have any religions or Christianity was something foreign to Africa, which is not the truth. But it's also interesting when you check the Ge'ez calendar, it has 12 months of 30 days each, plus 5 or 6 days, which also depends on the cycle, which can actually be the 13th month that is dependent on certain astronomical features, right?
Okay.
And then the first day of the Ethiopian year is called the Eskerem. Not quite sure what that actually means, but you can even break down the 13 months and the 12 months and the addition to that. But there's also a religious aspect of it, which is part of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, which uses this particular calendar. And then you've got one that is called the Akan calendar.
I've never heard of that one.
Yeah, the Akan calendar is 12 solar months. This is probably the one that we are using to a large degree.
Okay.
And it also is brought by the change of the Sabbath from Saturday to Sunday. So that is something that's different from the Ethiopian calendar, which houses the Sabbath on Saturday. So that's also very interesting. The Kan month is a cycle that is actually considering 42 days in a month.
Ooh.
6 weeks.
Yo, imagine your bank balance making it through 42 days. Already we're finding it hard to have our money last us 5 days. Okay, 5 days according to the expert that we had this morning. Now imagine your one salary having to make it through 42 days. It's too much.
There's so many of these calendars, actually, if you look at them up, because they're very regional and they also kind of depend on a tribal context.
Yeah.
So check them out. They're everywhere. And if you want to know how we actually had our own calendars, and some of them were actually very close to our religious practices, and they were also very much close to our traditional practice. So check it out. It's going to be an interesting one if you actually just zoom into it, because we think time and calendars are a Western thing.
Yeah.
And we also think they're not connected to modern religion, and modern religion was brought on the African continent by Westerners. But actually, a lot of the religions we have today actually come from and are born from the African continent. Well, that is our Vintage Africa today. If you want to find out more African calendars, check them out. They're so interesting and they're very diverse. We only gave you 2 so you can get an aspect of how they actually look like. Let's take a break. We'll be back.
Darubini ya Afrika na I am Henry Shakif.
Hawa wa Afrika Kusini wenye asili ya kizungu ambao wamepewa ukimbizi huko nchini Marekani. Je, nini chanzo cha wao kuomba ukimbizi nchini Marekani?
Wenyewe hawajaomba ukimbizi. Kuna shirika fulani inaitwa AfriForum, shirika mbili za wazungu ambao wanatetea haki ya wazungu hapa, AfriForum na Solidarity. Hao walienda Marekani kufanya kampeni kusema kwamba wazungu wananyanyaswa hapa Afrika Kusini, na walivyofanya hiyo kampeni, serikali iweze kuwafuatilia kujua nini ambacho mnasema kwamba mnanyanyaswa.
Kuna namna ya wao kwamba wamepoteza uraia wa Afrika Kusini, na je, endapo Trump akamaliza muda wake madarakani, uhalali wao wa kuishi nchini Marekani ukoje?
Itakuwa vigumu, kifupi itakuwa vigumu wenyewe kupoteza uraia wao.
Darubini ya Afrika 11 kamili hadi 12 kamili majira ya Afrika ya Kati.
Benjamin Moshatama and Palesa on the move.
When a good girl gone bad, what you gonna do?
More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning,
featuring Pato Ranking. Beautiful, beautiful melanin. Head on over to our live stream on Facebook with Channel Africa, on Instagram and YouTube at Channel Africa 1. You get to experience our melanin here in studio, both Benjamin and I, beautiful melanated people of the African continent.
That's right.
Yes, we are.
Beautifully so.
Of course, it's 10:57 Central Africa time. Wrapping up this hour of the show. Moving on to the third hour, we're going in the cubicle. That's our workplace feature. Today we're speaking about office politics and gossip. Are you someone who gossips in the office, or do people come and gossip with you, and has that gotten you into trouble? You know, we say that our intention to go to work is to go there, do what we need to do, but there are so many like politics that go on in there, and then once you hear them, there's like grapevines going on in the workplace. People gossip, people say this about that person, the boss favors whoever, and once you get in there, like really in there, it becomes chronic, and actually it can be quite detrimental to your own career path. So we're going into that, speaking about office politics and gossip in the next hour of the show. Boniwe Dance, the human resource specialist, will share insights and practical tips to rise above the noise and thrive in the workplace.
Yeah, looking forward to that one. The thing about office gossip, I feel like it happens with those that like the gossip.
Yeah. I mean, people won't just like come up to you. So this is what I always say, right? If anyone just generally in life, not just in the office, if anyone comes up to you to tell you, you know, whoever told me this about you, right? That means that person must have been comfortable enough to come and tell you that information about me. That makes you a gossiper too, because people don't just randomly walk up to a non-gossiper to share some gossip.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes the non-gossipers are like the enemies of the office.
Yes, they become that. Because, I mean, why aren't they gossiping with the rest of us?
And sometimes it's a catch-22 situation. Sometimes it's actually the culture in some workplaces whereby gossip actually gets you to a promotion, and in some places where it's like gossip is the one that actually is going to be detrimental to your career, right? So it's an interesting one. How do you stay away and keep things professional? At times, how do you also, like, if it's something that is a culture within a workplace and maybe you're not kind of, you know, liking that environment in that sense, how do you stay away from that kind of talk? That's what we're going to find out from Boniwe just in a few minutes time. It's 1100 hours Central African time. We're entering into that final hour. Let's find out what Onele Ntintsi has for us as she wraps up the morning news.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Well, thank you, Benjamin. Looking at your top stories, an explosion is heard near a Roman Catholic shrine in Uganda's capital, and Ukraine and Russia plan on exchanging more prisoners. Your latest news, greetings to our listeners. An explosion has been heard near a Roman Catholic shrine in Uganda's capital, Kampala, with the army saying 2 armed people were neutralized in the Munyonyo suburb ahead of celebrations for the Martyrs' Day public holiday. The blast is said to have killed at least 2 people. A Ugandan army spokesperson wrote on X that a counter-terrorism unit this morning intercepted and neutralized 2 armed terrorists in Munyonyo. The security services are on heightened alert to ensure the Martyrs' Day celebrations proceed without disruption. A UN convoy delivering food into Sudan's Al-Fashir in North Darfur came under attack overnight. A spokesperson for the UN Children's Agency says they received information about a convoy with WFP and UNICEF trucks being attacked last night while positioned in Akoma, North Darfur, waiting for approval to proceed to Al-Fashir. Famine conditions continue to be reported in Al-Fashir, the capital of North Darfur. 2 years of war cuts off supply. The corruption case of South Africa's former President Jacob Zuma and French arms company Thales is back in the High Court in Pietermaritzburg in the KwaZulu-Natal province. Judge Nkosinathi Chili will consider Thales' application to be acquitted on all charges due to the death of key witnesses. Zuma's legal team has brought a similar application. The state opposes both applications, Dries Liebenberg reports.
Thales was awarded the contract to supply the weapon systems for the new corvettes. It's alleged that Thales agreed to pay Zuma an annual bribe so that he will protect them in the investigation into alleged irregularities in the arms deal. Defense legal teams have argued that the evidence of Thales South Africa's directors in the 1990s and early 2000s, Pierre Moineau and Alain Tetard, are crucial. The two men died in 2021 and 2022 respectively.
Myanmar's junta says it has extended a temporary ceasefire to June to support reconstruction and relief efforts following a massive earthquake in late March that killed at least 3,700 people and devastated parts of the country. The junta initially announced a ceasefire in early April. This is days after the March 28 earthquake to support relief efforts following similar moves by anti-junta armed groups. The opposition groups have also extended their ceasefire to the end of June. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says that the peace talks in Istanbul have concluded, revealing that Ukraine and Russia plan on exchanging more prisoners of war. Zelensky attended a meeting consisting of Central European and Nordic states in Vilnius, the capital of Lithuania, whilst the talks were underway. He added that there should be more pressure to ensure a solution to end the war.
Today we see the situation clearly. If Russia turns the Istanbul meeting into an empty talk, there must be a new level of pressure, new sanctions, and not just from Europe. We need to work on joint sanctions at the G7 level, including with the United States and with everyone in the world who wants peace. It's very, very important that each of our partners supports this exact approach.
Now, recapping on your top stories, an explosion has been heard near a Roman Catholic shrine in Uganda's capital, Kampala, with the army saying 2 armed people were neutralized in the Munyonyo suburb ahead of celebrations for the Martyrs' Day public holiday. Channel Africa News, I am Onele Ntsinzi.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
All right, let's go into our final hour of On The Move. It's been a very fun 2 hours. Remember, if you want to just see what's happening in studio, in fact, our guest is going to come onto our live stream in our In The Cubicle feature today. So if you want to see Boniwa Dunster, a human resources specialist, just join us in 5 minutes time on our live stream. She's going to be sharing expert insights and practical tips to rise above the noise of office politics and gossip. We've all been there, caught up in the whispers, the rumors, the backstabbing, and sometimes you feel like an outsider if you're not involved. You feel like your work is not enough, and then you start getting involved. Sometimes you feel like you staying outside of the gossip is actually bad for you. You need to know what's happening in the office, right? And that's what we're going to be talking about. Should you get caught up in the drama, or should you be one of those who just stands outside and actually avoids the office politics and gossips? Sometimes the gossip comes for you and people are talking about you and you are the outsider. Or at times you have office politics that's going to affect you because it is an environment where you are working with others. So we're looking forward to speaking to Boniwa Dunster, a human resources specialist, on this one. And I wonder if you've been ever caught up in gossip in the office and or maybe office politics and things have turned out bad. Tell us a little bit about it on our WhatsApp number, +2763 406 9126. We want to hear from you.
Absolutely. It's hour 3 of 3 and we've been having great conversations. If you've just joined us, where have you been? I mean, you've missed out on some good ones there, but don't worry about it. We still have another hour ahead of us. Yep. And of course, we're able to still have these conversations with you. You can join our live stream on our various social media platforms. We are Channel Africa on YouTube. We are at Channel Africa 1 on X. Use our hashtag on the move, as well as on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. We're also streaming there on our YouTube channel, so don't miss out on anything. You can be a part of the Channel Africa family in so many different ways, and as been already stated, you can find us on WhatsApp as well, and also on our direct line on the number +2763 406 9126. If you go to our website www.channelafrica.co.za, there's loads to see over there, so get acquainted with some of the content that we put there. Our podcasts are there as well. There's lots to see and lots to chat about here on Channel Africa. So let's go into yet another hour of On the Move.
Africa. It's time to plug into the heartbeat of the continent. Tune in to Channel Africa, your go-to radio station that broadcasts in 5 different languages.
L'Afrique du Sud célèbre la journée nationale du
Kabla hujaitwa kwa jina la Double K
or more of our forests have been destroyed.
Tamo kutuli bwanji ndi
Partido Africano da Independência da Guiné.
See, Channel Africa represents every corner of this amazing land. From Lagos to Cape Town, Nairobi to Dakar, we've got you covered with the freshest news, music, and cultures. So, turn up the volume, feel the rhythm. And join the conversation. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Ahoy, matey.
Captain here to help, right, boys?
Set sail with us on a digital voyage like no other. Channel Africa has a treasure trove of awesomeness. That is our website and social media pages.
Tell me, why are you here?
We want you to be part of our adventure.
The winds are changing, Captain. And this time...
Imagine a world where curiosity knows no bounds, where entertainment meets enlightenment, and where every click leads to the African perspective. Visit us on our website, www.channelafrica.co.za, or follow us on Instagram or on X at Channel Africa 1. Like us on Facebook at Channel Africa 1. So, spread the word. Tell a friend that Channel Africa's online variety is what they need on the web. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Got something to say? Are you passionate about issues that matter? Do you have a voice that deserves to be heard? Well, we've got the perfect platform for you. Call in or drop us a WhatsApp on +27 63 406 9126, and we will call you back so you could have your say and be part of the conversation.
30 years of age. I just turned 30 on the 15th of November. So yeah, that's who I am, you know.
It's not just talk. It's your chance to air your views. Share your opinion. Engage with a community that values your perspective. Follow us on our social media. Visit our website at www.channelafrica.co.za and get ready to share your views on Channel Africa, the African perspective. Africa, meet Abedi.
Yeah, that's me.
Abedi is a music lover through and through.
I really love African music.
He's got a taste for all kinds of tunes and spends his days listening to Channel Africa. Guess what? He didn't know.
Okay.
Channel Africa wants to help Abedi and all music lovers everywhere to discover even more incredible music. That is why Channel Africa is calling on all African musicians to submit their music. Musicians, remember to give us all your relevant information. Make your submissions at music@channelafrica.co.za. Submissions are your chance to be heard on radio. But sadly, they do not guarantee that you will be playlisted. All submissions will be carefully reviewed to see if they meet our station's requirement. Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Darubini ya Afrika na I am Henry Shakif.
Hawa wa Afrika Kusini wenye asili ya kizungu ambao wamepewa ukimbizi huko nchini Marekani. Je, nini chanzo cha wao kuomba ukimbizi nchini Marekani?
Wenyewe hawajaomba ukimbizi. Kuna shirika fulani inaitwa AfriForum, shirika mbili za wazungu ambao wanatetea haki ya wazungu hapa, AfriForum na Solidarity. Hao walienda Marekani kufanya kampeni kusema kwamba wazungu wananyanyaswa hapa Afrika Kusini, na walivyofanya hiyo kampeni serikali iweza kuwafuatilia kujua nini ambacho mnasema kwamba mnanyanyaswa.
Kuna namna ya wao kwamba wamepoteza uraia wa Afrika Kusini, na je, endapo Trump akamaliza muda wake madarakani, uhalali wao wa kuishi nchini Marekani ukoje?
Itakuwa vigumu, kifupi itakuwa vigumu wenyewe kupoteza uraia wao.
Darubini ya Afrika 11 kamili hadi 12 kamili majira ya Afrika ya Kati.
We are up, we are ready, we are on the move with Palesa and Benjamin Moshatama on Channel Africa.
Hey man, this is one of my favorite features. Every time we do it, I feel like we need more and more conversations about how just to be ourselves in the workplace. And that's our In the Cubicle feature, where we just look at what's happening in the office environment. Today we're speaking about office gossip, office politics. They can be the ultimate productivity killers. I mean, we've all been there, caught up in the whirlwind of who's saying who about who, the rumors about who is dating who in the workplace, and who was backstabbing. But what's the real cost of getting caught up in that kind of drama? We're going to be exploring the benefits of staying focused and professional, from building positive relationships to maintaining a healthy work environment. We've got a bubbly Boniwe, a Dunster, a human resources specialist, who will share expert insights and practical tips to rise above the noise and thrive in your workplace. Boniwe, welcome on our show.
Thank you for having me, and good morning to your listeners as well.
Yeah, man, let's talk a little bit about this, because maybe it's something that we always run away from talking about, because we never want anyone to know, right, that we are the gossipers, that there's a story that we are also part of and that we've heard about in the workplace. But gossip is part of office life, right?
Sure. So gossip is part of office life, but it shouldn't be part of gossip life. And I actually want to talk about it from a legislative perspective, because we have a code of good conduct on the prevention and elimination of workplace harassment and bullying. And what that entails, it also lists different types of toxicity, bullying behavior, and harassment behavior. And gossip is one of them. And hence I'm saying it's part of office life, but legislatively it's not, because it takes away people's dignity, and to also a safe working environment, whereby people end up feeling very inferior. They are scared of going to the office because they're going to be ridiculed, or when they walk down the corridor, people are looking up at them because there has been some kind of gossip going on. So it shouldn't be, and we need to start working towards how do we eliminate that for us to create healthy working environments.
Yeah, I mean, one would have never thought that this is something that would be legislated. Why do you think we take gossip so easily and we're so chilled about it in the office space? We think, I'm just talking about people. It's not really harmful.
Sure. People, most of the time, they want to be popular. They want to belong. So sometimes for you to belong, you might want to come with a hot scoop in the office, so that you can actually then affiliate or climatize to a certain group of people. And for that, then people start talking. And office talk or office gossip, it's nice, right? You know that those talks that you have over the coffee machine, over the water dispenser, right? And then also the fact that once you know this gossip as well, you start monitoring the movements and the behaviors of certain people that we are gossiping about. So I think that's that. It's just a bad social habit, and it doesn't just start at work. It's something that we know from growing up, from friends, from school, and it has actually unfortunately made it into the corporate corridors. So it's something that one needs to really think through, when you start gossiping about people, and to ask yourself a question: what if the tables were turned and the gossip was on me?
Yeah, and maybe that is the key point that you're highlighting there, that sometimes the things that we do in our private lives, we think that they can filter through into the workspace and environment, right? You think, okay, because I gossip with my friends, definitely I can gossip with my work friends. But that shouldn't be the case.
It shouldn't be the case, because when you form part of a gossiping clique, it means you are a gossiper. And chances are somebody's also going to gossip about you, and you also need to think about that. And yes, in certain instances, we have built friendships and relationships in a work environment with people that we trust. And then we tell them anything that's happening in our lives, or we tell them anything that we see in the office, so that they are also in the know. But the question is, what is the relevance of the gossip? How is it contributing to a healthy working environment? How is it building you as an individual, as a professional? What does it do in terms of your professional brand within the organization? What does it say about your values and your ethics as well, right? And we don't really think about that. The fact that we have built relationships and friendships at work is all good and well. We need people that can be a support structure to us. We need people that can be accountability partners for us to be able to grow our careers. But nowhere would ever gossip do that. So by you actually gossiping, you must just know that your organization has the right and the responsibility to discipline you, so that we can actually then stop such bad behavior.
Moniwa, there are office politics in any work environment, and there's a big difference between understanding the work politics and being a part of the work politics. Let's look at that distinction, because you have to sort of understand the landscape of your workspace, so that to avoid certain things, or to maybe even try and climb up the ladder. But what's the difference between, understanding the politics but being in the politics?
One thing I can confirm is that office politics are always there, right? However, there's positive politics and negative politics, because every environment has its own dynamics. But it's understanding what is the lay of the land, what is the environment in which I work in, who are the decision makers, what influences how things are done. Right. So you need to understand that, so that you are informed when you are making your own career moves within the organization, when you want to grow with that particular organization. Where office politics are wrong, it's when office politics, they lack authenticity and they lack integrity. And by lack of integrity is that when, people do things with the intent of actually harming other people, with the intent of being punitive to other people, with the intent of having to destroy. So those are negative office politics, and being part of that actually goes against the code of good practice, as I had alluded earlier. So when we see in terms of how performance management works, how decisions are made, how business growth is made, and how promotions are made, we need to understand what does it take, to get promoted, to get to the next level. Who do I need to talk to? Who do I need to get as a sponsor? Who can mentor me, who has been there, before, so that I can do better? Who are the people that have also been promoted that I can get tips from them? So all of that is part of the politics. So you make informed decision to help you progress yourself, or to understand the environment better. It becomes bad when the politics are really around, being negative towards an individual, or being negative towards the organization, or the intention of those politics are really to disrupt and to bring toxicity in the workplace. As soon as it starts being unethical, as soon as it starts lacking value, and as soon as it starts being negative, then we know those are the wrong politics. Unfortunately, the environments that we work in that we even live in with our communities, they have a certain level of politics, and that really means there will always be two different opposing forces, in an environment. But you just need to understand, why are they opposing, but what is it that the organization is driving towards? How do I make sure that I do not really get involved in the wrong in the wrong side or in the wrong side? So you can't really, like, we're living in a country whereby we have political parties, right? So our daily lives are surrounded around politics, and all these political parties have different views because there's a philosophy of some sort, right, that they actually climatize to, or that they align with. And the same within the organization. When things are happening, you need to understand what is our organizational mission and values, what are our ethical standards, and how does this actually then contribute to the bigger organizational strategy, and how do I contribute to that in a positive way, and trying to navigate all this toxicities or gossiping behaviors.
Yeah, wow, this is such a cool conversation with Boniwe Dansta. She goes by the name of Boniwe, your HR specialist, on her Instagram. We're going to continue with her. She's also a speaker. She's doing a lot of speaking engagements as well. And to actually follow up on some of these themes that we're touching on, how do you actually create then positive office relationships? And what are the guidelines that you should also follow to minimize this office politics and gossip? We'll continue with Boniwe after our break.
Zilipendwa na Abedi Jean de la Croix.
Mara ya kwanza kabisa uliingia studio ulikuwa ni mwaka gani?
Nakumbuka mara kwanza nimeingia studio hapa South Africa.
Vizuri sana.
Ilikuwa ni mwaka wa 2016-17 kama sisahau.
Swali kidogo la kizushi hivi hapo Durban watu wanafahamu kama wewe ni mwanamuziki?
Hapa Durban watu wengi wananifahamu kwamba mimi ni msanii ambaye anafanya vyema kwenye mambo ya muziki.
Okay, vizuri sana. Hongera sana kwa hilo. Naam, tuzungumzie sasa albamu yako ambayo unapanga kuitoa hivi karibuni. Albamu unatoa lini?
Albamu itakuwa available, itakuwa tayari next week Saturday, itakuwa tayari.
Albamu inaenda na ngoma ngapi?
Albamu inaenda na miziki 17.
Zilipendwa kila Jumamosi kuanzia saa 12 kamili majira ya Afrika ya Kati hadi saa 1 kamili majira ya Afrika ya Kati.
#on the move and connect with us.
How are you navigating office politics and office gossip? Sometimes it can be the ultimate productivity killer. And I think many of us have been there, in a place where either you are the gossiper or you've been gossiped about in the office workplace. But hey, sometimes it can actually have quite detrimental outcomes for your career at large. We still have Boniwe Dansta on the line with us, human resource specialist, who's sharing expert insights and practical tips to rise above the noise within your workplace. This is the In the Cubicle feature. Well, Boniwe, when you've discovered, right, the grapevine in your office place, and maybe you've been approached with a little bit of gossip, right? And this can be maybe gossip that is about you or about somebody else. How do you navigate something like that if you don't want to be a participant, but you also don't want to be on the bad books of some people in the office?
Sure. I think the first thing to do is, to make sure that the person that's bringing the gossip to you, that you let them know that you do not want to form part of a toxic work environment or of a gossip environment. And also to let them know that they shouldn't go spreading gossip about you. You also have a formal process that you can follow with your line manager and with HR around putting a grievance, to actually put an end to those gossip in the office. Another thing as well, especially sometimes when it catches you when you're least expected, probably you might be having lunch alone and somebody comes and talk to you about it. There's few things that you can do. You can either walk away and say, I don't want to be part of this conversation, and therefore can I excuse myself from the setting. You can also walk away saying the same thing. I don't want to be part of this, and then walk away. Alternatively, you can be smart enough by just changing the conversation. What's important in gossip, to make sure that at the end you are not seen as the bad person, because people often come to you with gossip, and to a certain extent they expect a reaction or a response. And for you not to do that, it is important for you to change the topic. Make sure that you don't have a response to that. And your response can be by changing the topic, or the response can be, I don't want to form part of this conversation, or the person that you are talking about is actually not in this conversation. Probably when they are in our presence, then we can engage with them. And by that, you instantly killing this whole gossip culture, or this conversation that you are having. Because the worst thing that could happen is for you to respond, and sometimes you can respond innocently, but the gossiper will go and actually change the story on what your response was or how your reaction is. So those are some of the tips that you can actually apply within an environment, as an employee. However, from an organizational perspective, I think it's important for the company to create, a toxic-free or a gossip-free, environment and culture. And also part of their policies should also include the code of good practice, as alluded then earlier, and then open, lines of communication, transparent communication. Because one other thing in the organization that makes gossip to perpetuate, it's lack of processes, it's lack of policies, and it's also closed information where certain things are known by selected individuals, and people then start making their own assumptions. So as a leader, you need to make sure that you eradicate such things by actually being transparent. When people come to you with questions, you answer. If probably it's something that's still confidential, you can actually say, you know what, we are busy working on this particular thing. Once it has been approved, or once we have more information, we will share, so that you kill the gossip. So by us as leaders or managers always trying to keep things to ourselves, people will always wonder, people will always make their assumptions, and their assumptions will always lead into gossip.
Can you get fired for gossip, Boniwe?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Can you get fired for gossip?
Oh, definitely. Yes, you can. You can. And hence, when I started, I spoke about the code of good practice on the prevention and elimination of workplace harassment, right? Because that same gossip perpetuates toxic behavior. That gossip takes away somebody's dignity, and that gossip always creates an animosity between work colleagues, right? So you actually can. So when you look at that code and you look what is listed as harassment, what is listed as bullying behavior, office gossip is there in black and white in that code, right? And this code was promulgated in, I think it was March of 2022. So you can actually get fired for gossip.
I didn't know that. Honestly, I didn't know that you can get fired for gossip. That's so interesting. So let's say, what kind of relationships should you be aiming for? Let's find a light out of this conversation. What kind of relationships should you be aiming for in the workplace?
You should be aiming for relationships that are very, fruitful and are very productive. Relationships that actually can contribute to your professional growth, right? And that doesn't mean we shouldn't be joking around with people, or we shouldn't be trusting people, right? But remember, when you find yourself in a work environment, you are there because, you have a career that you're building towards, or you've maybe gotten to a place whereby this is where you've wanted to get to. And by doing that, you actually need to maintain that. How do you maintain that? You maintain that through healthy working relationships and authentic relationships, being honest to yourself about who you are, what you are, so that people can understand you better. And then you're aiming at getting and building relationships with people that have influence in terms of decision making, people that can actually, advocate for your work and your capabilities in rooms that you yourself, cannot be able to, in rooms whereby promotion decisions are made. As a gossiper, no executive or no manager would want to actually promote somebody who's spreading gossip. So you might think it's a small little thing, but it might actually, turn against you in terms of your career progressions. So it's all about building healthy relationships, beneficial relationships, building accountability partners, having accountability partners with a colleague. Probably you could be in the same team,
Sure.
or in the same role, and we all have our own career goals that we want to advance, and we can say, what, let's partner together, let's hold each other accountable, let's check on each other, so that no one gets left behind,
Sure.
because there's so many opportunities. So those are some of the meaningful conversations, together with relationships, that you can build within a work context.
Boniwe, you are so awesome. Where can people find you and see some of the work you're doing in your space of human resources?
Thank you so much. So I am in a few media platforms, social media platforms, that is. So your Facebook, TikTok, and LinkedIn. So you would find me as Boniwe Danster. And then on Instagram, it's Boniwe Danster, HR specialist, and on X it's Danster_Boniwe. That's where you'll be able to get hold of my work and get hold of myself.
Hey man, we love your work, so keep doing it, and thank you for speaking to us, to helping us on this very unspoken about conversation. Thank you for joining us here on Channel Africa.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
That's Boniwe Danster joining us for our In the Cubicle feature today. Boniwe is a human resources specialist. Well, that conversation leads us to 11:31 Central African time. What do you think about that one? Remember, our WhatsApp number is +27 63406 9126. Did you know you could get fired for gossip? Sure, it's a big one. Well, let's move on now and see what Musibudi Makura has for us as she wraps up the morning sports.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Thank you, Benjamin. A very good morning from the sports desk. Nahandra Claassen has announced his immediate retirement from international cricket, bringing an end to a distinguished 7-year career for the Proteas men's side. The 33-year-old announced on Monday that he would be stepping away from the white ball formats, which follows his retirement from red ball cricket in 2024. So Claassen made his one-day international debut as well as a T20 debuts back in 2018 and went on to establish himself as one of the most destructive white ball players in his generation. He played 60 one-day internationals and amassed over 2,000 runs at an average of just under 44 in the middle order. Now, his power-hitting prowess was on full display during a blistering career best of 174 against Australia at home ground in Supersport Park in 2023, the second highest score ever recorded by a number 5. Renowned for his dominance against spin, Claassen also represented South Africa in 58 T20 internationals, striking at a rate of 141.84. Now, his ability to take on bowling attacks, with calculated aggression, made him a mainstay in South Africa's limited overs cricket. And still on cricket news, Sri Lanka will host matches at this year's Women's World Cup as part of an ongoing arrangement surrounding fixtures involving India as well as Pakistan. Now, India's refusal to travel to Pakistan for the Men's Champions Trophy earlier on this year prompted the International Cricket Council, the ICC, to introduce neutral venues to tournaments hosted by either nation. So, as part of the plans announced in December, neither country will travel to the other for an ICC event. Now, the Sri Lankan city of Colombo will join Indian cities of Bengaluru, Guwahati, as well as Indore in staging the Women's World Cup, which runs from the 30th of September until the 2nd of November. Colombo will host Pakistan's 7 group games, including against India as well as England. It will also host a semi-final and a final if Pakistan make it that far. Bengaluru will stage the opening match involving India as well as the final if Pakistan are not involved. The full list of fixtures for the 8-team tournament is still to be announced. Australia, of course, are the defending World Cup champions, having beaten England in the final of the previous tournament in New Zealand, delayed until 2022 because of the global COVID-19 pandemic. In football news now, Mamelodi Sundowns finally arrived home on Monday afternoon after their exploits in Egypt. They were vying for a CAF Champions League title, losing that final to Pyramids FC in that final played over the weekend. So coach Miguel Cardoso says their poor start against Pyramids in that final is what ultimately cost them the continental title. The Egyptians were crowned winners following a 3-2 aggregate victory over 2 legs, having dominated Sunday's second leg at at the 30 June Stadium to not only claim the maiden continental title but also qualify for the 2029 FIFA Club World Cup. Cardoso admits they lacked the spark needed for a game of this magnitude.
But at the same time, I think that something missed for us to be in the level that we needed in order to win. It's not a question of who was best or who was worse, because when there's a winner, it means that he was better. What I feel is that we, in some moments, didn't find a way to compete in the level that we should have competed in order to win the trophy.
Now, the Portuguese mentor also added their route to the final of the Champions League should not be taken for granted.
On the way to the final, we played Al Ahly, that is still the first on the CAF ranking, and we beat them on the semi-final. And we played the Esperance Tunis, that on the moment we beat them was the second on the ranking of CAF. And when we arrived in the club was struggling in order to try to pass the group stage of the Champions League. In a very tough group, with also Asfar, we were able to make the group stage and proceed. What I mean is that throughout the tournament, our players were able to show a great commitment, a great attitude, and also quality.
And finally, in tennis news, Novak Djokovic ended Cameron Norrie's encouraging French Open run with a straight sets victory over the Brit to reach the quarterfinals. Djokovic bidding for a standalone record of 25th time Grand Slam singles title, beat Norrie 6-2, 6-3 and 6-2 last night. Norrie playing in his last round of 16, and Roland Garros for the very first time was looking for another scalp in Paris after stunning 11-seed player Daniil Medvedev in the first round just a week ago. Djokovic will now meet with Alexander Zverev in a repeat of the semi-final of the Australian Open earlier on in the year. He was pleased with his performance.
I think I played solid. I cannot, I always expect myself to play better, but I think, considering the opponent's form as well and the last 16 round and the occasion, I think it was a very good match. I mean, from my side, a very solid performance, straight set win again. So I'm pleased with the way things are going, and obviously the matches only get tougher, so I look forward to the next challenge.
For Channel Africa Sport, I am Musibudi Makura.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Você é fluente em português? É apaixonado por rádio e quer trabalhar na África do Sul? Você tem documentos que o qualificam para trabalhar na África do Sul? Nesse caso, podemos ter uma oportunidade para você trabalhar no Canal África. Envie seu currículo e demonstração para canalafrica@channelafrica.co.za. Lembre-se, se você não receber alguma resposta nossa em 14 dias, isso significa que você não foi selecionado. Canal África, a perspectiva africana.
Well, standing by right now is Chanduko Ligege to give us our latest economics.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Benjamin. Good morning. Nigeria's livestock minister, Idimaiya, says his country is importing dairy cattle from Denmark as it marks to double its milk output within 5 years, part of a plan to cut dairy imports that cost the country $1.5 billion a year. Despite boasting one of Africa's largest cattle populations, Nigeria's milk output of 700,000 tons a year lags its annual consumption of 1.6 million tons. Maya says Nigeria's cattle population exceeding 20 million consists largely of low-yield pastoralist breeds. Maya adds that a Nigerian farm has already imported over 200 heifers from Denmark, building its herd through intensive breeding. Some economists say despite constraints in the South African manufacturing sector, the Business Activity Index shows some improvement, rising by 3.4 points to 43.4 last month. The Absa Purchasing Managers Index, PMI, stayed in contractionary territory for a seventh consecutive month. The PMI declined by 1.6 points to 43.1 in May, a PMI reading below the 50 points mark signals negativity in the sector. Absa Economics Selo Sikele.
The main index that weighed on the PMI was the supply delivery times. We think that it shows two things. So the first is recently the index has been artificially high due to bottlenecks in the logistics sector. And then this time around, we think that it's showing that bottlenecks are easing. And then it shows that business demand in the sector is quite subdued.
The S&P Global Survey has revealed that activity in Egypt's non-oil private sector edged closer to stability in May, with softer contractions in new business and output. The headline seasonally adjusted S&P Global Egypt Purchasing Managers Index (PMI) rose to 9.5 from 48.5 in April, remaining below the 50.0 threshold that separates growth from contraction. Output and new orders continued to decline, but a slower pace compared to April, as fewer companies reported cutbacks in customer sales. However, businesses reduced purchasing activity at the fastest rate in 7 months and trimmed their workforces, with employment dropping for the fourth month in a row. Vodacom Group has named its Egypt CEO Mohamed Abdallah as the new top boss for Vodacom International Markets. According to the company, under the expanded role, Abdallah will oversee operations in additional African markets, including the Democratic Republic of Congo, Lesotho, Mozambique, and Tanzania. And the government of Panama says the world's largest banana-producing company, Chiquita, has removed its administrative staff from the country in response to an ongoing strike. The firm had already sacked 5,000 of its workers from its farms in Bocas del Toro province on Panama's Caribbean coast. The BBC's Leonardo Rocha has more.
Chiquita says it's lost $75 million since the Banana Workers Union joined a nationwide strike against proposed pension reforms. The company, which operates in dozens of other countries, says it also wants to fire the remainder of its staff in Panama, though it's not clear whether such dismissals would be permanent or if this is a pressure tactic.
$1 in Nigeria is trading at 1,000 naira, 583 in Botswana, 13 pula 26. Kenya, the dollar is at 128 shilling 28. Zambia, 26 kwacha 65. BRICS countries, $1 in Brazil is at 5 real 70. Russia, 78 ruble 65. India, 85 rupee 40. China, 71 20. South Africa, $1 is at 17 rand 89 cents. $1 is 73 pence to the British pound and 87 to the euro. Commodities: gold is at $3,360, platinum at $1,059 per ounce. The price of Brent crude oil $64.84 a barrel. That is all from me. For any business stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za, or you can call us on +27 11714 4459. For Channel Africa Business, I am Chanduko Ligege.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective. The EU-African SME Summit joined more than 200 change makers from June 19 to June 21 at the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. It's where trade meets transformation. We are building Africa's future through AFCFTA, the EU's global gateway, and the power of small businesses. It's an opportunity to spark collaboration and unlock Africa's investment. Presented by the European Entrepreneurs, the Pan-African Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and Shared Value Africa. This is a summit not to be missed. Register now at EUAfricaSMESummit.eu. The rhythm of Africa, the pulse of the continent. This is Channel Africa, the African perspective. 5 p.m. 5 till 6, we put on a little bit more color. Vue d'Afrique with Joel Moteba. We go to East and Central Africa and find Darubinia Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochitika, 7 till 8 p.m. Maria Mokumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some useful knowledge. Kalodiscopia, 9 till 10. We take a look in Africa and beyond. Africa World Hour with Sipiso Makwetla. And we close it up with some love. The Hotlines with Shailen Dikumana, 10 till 12 p.m. on Channel Africa. Across borders, across time zones, on air, online. This is Channel Africa. Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine, 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda, as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palesa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with Tepu Kholikweleni and Nompumelelo Ngubeni. Tame Ngubeni talks money, Africa in business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6, we put on a little bit more color. Vue d'Afrique with Joel Moteba. We go to East and Central Africa and find Darubinia Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochitika, 7 till 8 p.m. Maria Mokumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some useful knowledge. Kalodiscopia, 9 till 10. We take a look in Africa and beyond. Africa World Hour with Sipiso Makwetla. And we close it up with some love. The Hotlines with Shailen Dikumana, 10 till 12 p.m. on Channel Africa. Across borders, across time zones, on air, online. This is Channel Africa. Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine, 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda, as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palesa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with Tepu Kholikweleni and Nompumelelo Ngubeni. Tame Ngubeni talks money, Africa in business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6, we put on a little bit more color. Vue d'Afrique with Joel Moteba. We go to East and Central Africa and find Darubinia Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochitika, 7 till 8 p.m. Maria Mokumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some news. This is Channel Africa. Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other: Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its
by
own
Jeffrey Oriema, titled Mara. Before that, you heard Rick Hassani, that was titled Beautiful to Me. Let's take a break. We're about to get out of here, but we're looking forward to the Africa Update, which starts at midday Central African Time.
Start your day right with Channel Africa Breakfast.
That smells delicious.
Live, 5 days a week.
Você é fluente em português? É apaixonado por rádio e quer trabalhar na África do Sul? Você tem documentos que o qualificam para trabalhar na África do Sul? Nesse caso, podemos ter uma oportunidade para você trabalhar no Canal África. Envie seu currículo e demonstração para Canal África at newsroom@channelafrica.co.za. Lembre-se, se você não receber alguma resposta nossa em 14 dias, isso significa que você não foi selecionado. Canal África, a perspectiva africana.
English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other: Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa
Sun
is
music with Chalabam. This is the remix with Burna Boy. Of course, we have Yapi and Tito M as well as SNE coming through on this one. But of course, it's time for the Africa update coming through after On the Move from 12 p.m. Central Africa time. And today we have Tracy Boomgard standing in for Lulu Gabu. How are you doing, Tracy?
I'm very well, and you, Palesa?
Doing well, thank you. What's coming up today?
Well, we have yesterday we focused on scams, okay, and we're continuing with that. In Nigeria, the questions have been asked whether they are the scam capital of the continent.
Oh, yeah.
So we're speaking to a Nigerian lawyer there. A 19-year-old girl's body was found. These fraudsters are known as Yahoo boys.
Yes.
So we'll be speaking to him all about the Yahoo scams.
Okay.
And a recent Pan-African survey has revealed that young people between the ages of 15 and 30 believe they can make a difference in the TVET sectors. Instead of going your higher education route with your varsities on that, they believe that TVETs are the way to go.
I think that's a great way to think of it, because not everyone can get in universities. We know that issue with universities every year, especially here in South Africa.
Yes.
And there are big avenues happening in the TVET sector that need to be looked at.
No, definitely. And then MSF in Chad, they are battling. The Sudanese refugees are coming over. There are hundreds of thousands of refugees there, and the funding is a major problem.
Big issue there as well. So that's all that we have today on the Africa Update.
And a lot more.
And more, of course. A lot more. Well, today, stay tuned for the Africa Update. Tracy Boomgard will be holding it down for you from 12 to 1 p.m. Central Africa time. Stay tuned right here to Channel Africa on channelafrica.co.za, DSTV 802, OpenView 628, and of course the SABC Plus app. Leaving you with this one, a little bit of music before we head on over to the Africa Update. Have a great day, Africa. We'll be back tomorrow.
Hey, you're bad, man.
Ice cream, but it be fat good. She tell me, say, papi, she no one know that, baby. Ice cream, is sweet, but she want soda. She no want no bad man, say she want bad man, true love, baby. She said, papi, girl,